Hello. We are starting a little later than usual. How's it going? Okay, howdy. Well, I could. Alright. Yeah, what's up? Oh, man. So, yeah, today I was gonna, cover some stuff, but also, finish that, debate that we started the other day. Um, yeah, but anyway, yeah. Alright, so one of the things I want to share today. Let's take a look. Kanye West is going viral once again. He faded into obscurity for like a little bit there, or maybe I just haven't been paying too much attention to like the shit that he's doing recently. But regardless, he was recorded on this like live thing, I guess. Maybe it was Instagram. Nice. Oh, my dog is freaking out. You can probably see him. What are you doing? You're wagging your tail. I'm not playing with you. I just took him out too, and he was freaking out. Or he was running around. He does this sometimes in the morning. He just does his fucking, sprints, his zoomies, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, yeah. So let's just take a look here about this. He's gonna distract me. I know it. This video here. All right. What's up? Kanye goes off against a lot of people. Does he now? Alright, let's take a listen, I guess.
Niggas is colonizers, nigga. The French own 80% of the banks in Africa, nigga. That's why I just met with MBS, nigga, head of Saudi. Nigga, we don't have to bow to this shit, nigga. Okay, it's 60 million of us in America, 60 million Jews in the world. 50% of our deaths is abortion. 25% of us go to prison. Raise one hand if you don't know one nigga in prison, one nigga got locked up, and one.
Dude, these, keep in mind that a lot of the things that he will say in this video, and now I haven't watched the whole video, I watched a couple minutes, but, like, a lot of the things that he will say in this video, I am going to already tell you right now, I'm willing to bet it's going to be just mostly conspiracy theory bullshit. So many of the things that he says is not going to be really grounded in reality, or it's going to be half-truths, or it's going to be misrepresentations of things.
Nigga poor. Wait, raise your hand if you don't know one person got abortion. Now I tell you, if it was in a Jewish mother on Friday with no fucking, everybody raised their hands. So wait a second. But wait a second. Who make the hospitals though? Who got the hospitals? These are Zionists, nigga. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Jesus.
What does that mean though? Zionists made the hospitals? I'm so confused.
So wait a second. But wait a second. Who make the hospitals though? Who got the hospitals? These are Zionists, nigga. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Jesus Christ, Hitler, yay. Third party, sponsor that, nigga.
Okay, I honestly don't even know. Like, I just listened to that sentence, right? And it didn't make sense to me. Like, the input into my brain is not, like, it's just not, I don't know if it's me, maybe, but it's just not making sense at all. What he just said made zero sense.
Bring the sponsorships to that. Because there's going to be some niggas that feel exactly
Sponsorships to Hitler. Interesting.
like me. I don't give a fuck, nigga. I'm 7. I don't give a fuck about life or death. I get visitation with my kids. I ain't got no say so. Them niggas walk around like look like soccer players. They don't even fucking know. They don't even know they dad, the kid. They'll see me come play one on nobody.
What?
They'll feel me, but they trying to program them. The head of Louis Vuitton, Bernard Arnault, fuck you. Alexander Arnault, fuck you. Francois Pinault, fuck.
So there's obviously a lot going on in his head, and it seems like this is an opportunity he is taking to just spill his guts out, basically spill everything that is on his mind, everything he's read on page 800 of Conservapedia, like a bunch of just random shit, right, that he has in his brain, like that he randomly memorized, is just spilling out in this video.
Fuck you, Dimna. Fuck you. Fuck Balenciaga. Fuck Cedric.
Buy the Yeezy Pods. Buy the Yeezy Pods.
Fuck Gap. And fuck Adidas, nigga.
Yeah, he just... because I think to him, he thinks that, like, the entire world is, like, run by Jews. So, like, every major, like, business or whatever is controlled by Jewish people, I guess. I don't know. Because, like, oh, I guess I know some of this has to do with them dropping sponsorships with him. Like, I think Adidas is one of them, but, yeah.
All you niggas is like fucking still wearing Adidas. Nigga, don't say me shit. Nigga, I'm by myself in this motherfucking room, nigga. Everybody shut the fuck up. Hey, shut the fuck up. Let me tell you something right now. Just the fact that you ain't listening to me, it's it. Ain't none of y'all niggas...
Notice the little thing there. Just the fact you're not listening to me is it. Like, everything... I don't know what happens to people. This is actually like a mental illness. When you are so deep down a rabbit hole or whatever, everything, and I mean everything in life and the interactions you have with other people, and even the relationships you have to abstract things, is all funneled through the same, like, it's all refracted through the same prism of it being a conspiracy theory. Like, even with what he just said, like, the fact you're not listening to me is further proof of it, right? Like, it's just everything, like, everything is coming back, all roads lead to Rome, to the Jewish question, or whatever conspiracy theory he has in his brain.
With me, I'm by my fucking self. Cause ain't none of y'all niggas stand up for me. Ain't nobody stop. And shut up. Be quiet before you get X'd out. Like, that's what I'm saying.
You get X'd out. Everything he says is a conspiracy. It's an allusion to conspiracy theories.
Nobody with me. Everybody here, half the motherfuckers on a check. Half the motherfuckers just here like, ha ha, laughing at jokes, laughing at the raps and shit. Nigga, I made these beats in my mama's basement. I drew these motherfucking shoes since I was in 7th grade, nigga. Because when I asked niggas step up, not one nigga stepped up.
He legitimately has a lot of issues, like, mentally, yes. Like, there's a lot he's going through a lot mentally, for sure. He's self-admitted to having bipolar disorder, and probably some form of depression, or whatever, yeah.
Now one nigga stepped up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. None of the famous niggas, Mav Carter sold me out. You know what I'm saying?
Now, the reason why is because A, you're insane, but B, they're, like, if they stood by your side, quote unquote, or whatever, like, your bar for standing by your side is, like, way, way above what the average person would ascertain. 100%. Because to him, standing by his side is saying that the Jews control the world and this, and that, whatever. That's way above any normal person's threshold. They are not as deep in the sauce as you. He's basically complaining about that, actually.
Nobody fucking said y'all saw me, ain't see my kids. All y'all rich niggas got y'all kids in that Zionist school. Fuck Sierra Canyon. My daughter ripped up up the motherfucking couches in the house to be able to be with me right now. Y'all don't know what's going on.
What the what? So she's like a dog? Like ripping up the furniture? Pissing on the fucking carpet? Like,
Oh, for real. Where y'all TikToking and all that shit. Y'all put up with all that shit. I don't give a fuck, nigga. I'm in Vegas. Like Pac, my daughter had the Tupac fucking t-shirt. So I'm saying,
what?
Witness this shit. Visit this shit. But I don't believe in nobody but me, nigga.
I don't even know how to interpret this. I think this is just completely incoherent. Like, there's no parsing through the logic or anything.
I'm looking for y'all. Don't gotta say we with you. You're not with me. No one's with me because no one's really with me. It's just me and God. That's what I'm saying. And I'm still alive.
Let's go.
And I'm still alive.
Again, this is another instance where it's like the fact that this happened is further proof of the conspiracy. The fact that I'm still alive and the fact that I'm still alive is further proof that I'm defying the odds and all this and that, right? Against, like, you know, the deep state and the Jews and whatever, right? It's just like everything. Like, I'm telling you, man, everything gets funneled back through the same fucking thing, through the same filter of conspiracy theories.
You ain't posting.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly consumed his entire life, like, very obviously, right? Now, some of it's not really his fault because, like, the internet, it's just a product of, I guess, the internet too, because, like, information is now more available now more than ever. So, like, it's very easy for somebody who doesn't even have any, you know, major mental dysfunction to get warped and down these rabbit holes, right?
You ain't post. When I couldn't see my kids, y'all ain't post. Y'all ain't stop the Adidas shit. Y'all niggas let Adidas crash the richest nigga of all time.
Y'all know I did.
Adidas was begging.
Wait a second. I put up one tweet, and then Ari Emanuel put, "Oh, we got to drop this nigga," and all niggas just watch. The only nigga that had the Trump hat. The only nigga that went and got them billions. The only nigga that's breaking through all kinds of ideas in fashion. I've been called a faggot so many times for tight jeans. You know what I'm saying? I got niggas from Chicago that I take care of that still trying to sell me. Trying to say I can't go to motherfucking GD. Nigga, I'm with way bigger folks than you, nigga. You niggas don't take care of me.
Now,
So clearly, like, you'll notice also throughout this tangent that, like, he just drops random side things that have no, like, relevance to the broader conversation, like his skinny pants just now, like, it doesn't really mean anything.
yo, thing is,
Wait,
between you
wait,
and God.
who you, shut up. Who you think, no, hold on. Who you think the old man called?
You.
When we put Drake on stage, who the old man called?
You.
You know what I'm saying?
Because God put you in position.
Nigga, just because I had a car, nigga, fuck everybody.
Dude, notice how he's not... Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just, like, realizing this like right now. Like, he's not actually talking to the people here. He's really just using them as a soundboard. I don't know why it took me that long to figure that out, but he's just regurgitating shit. He doesn't really care about the fact that there's people listening to him. I guess to some extent he does, because, like, he's told everybody to shut the fuck up, but I think that's mostly just so that he can keep, like, you know, projectile vomiting a bunch of these conspiracies.
Nigga,
You the biggest vessel.
that's what I'm trying to say to you niggas right
Vessel.
fucking now, nigga.
Vessel.
This is what y'all been waiting for.
What?
Drake, this is what you've been waiting for. Jay-Z, this is what you've been waiting for. Kim, this is what you've been waiting for. All you niggas, look, let me tell you something. This is the way the world works.
God is
Here.
using him
Be-
right now.
Okay, be quiet for a second. Don't scream for a
Sorry.
second.
I love you, but okay.
No, you got it. Get over.
Hey, sorry.
See? He wants to just word vomit everything, right? There's no, like, conversation. It's just like just he's not actually interested in the opinions of people who are around him in this room, or really cares that they're around at all. He's just, yeah.
Come down, please.
God runs the world. Then under that, you got 1,000-year-old families, Medici. Under that, you have the Vatican, the Pope. Under that, you have the financial groups that control all your shit. BlackRock, Vanguard. After that, you have Putin.
BlackRock. Did they say BlackRock, or is that what? Did he say BlackRock, or is that the?
You have Trump. You have all this shit. And after that, you got what all this shit is. Entertainment. Hollywood. Take that.
They're
run
also
that
run
back,
by Jews,
run it in
right?
schools. I'm going to give y'all one last thing before I go. When I first put the tweet up, I was dealing with a divorce lawyer. And I explained to the lawyer what my issue was. And his response was to me, if you keep up this anti-Semitic rhetoric, then you won't see your kids. A nigga I knew said I couldn't have.
And you know what? I bet you that serves as fodder for the conspiracy theory. You dare question you dare challenge the fact that Jews control the world, or you say that that's the case. Well, you know what? If you keep that up, we're going to take your kids away. Like, this is further proof in his eyes of Jews controlling the world, as opposed to it just being like him actually being crazy and unstable.
Have an opinion, or I wouldn't see my kids.
Right.
Y'all know who y'all fucking playing with? This is a vessel of God. He gonna burn all your shit down. I swear. I knew these niggas is trying to make surviving this way. That's why I sent it up while I was still in the high schools. Bill Cosby couldn't do shit by the time they got him. R. Kelly couldn't do shit by the time they got him.
And when he says they, he means Jewish people.
That's why I had to send it up. Because the same niggas that made him rich, the same niggas doing the documentary. And fuck Cootie, fuck you, because everybody saw that third episode. That's what the whole shit was about.
Period.
Me selling opioids.
What is he talking about? What episode? What show?
I'm not even bipolar and I got signs of autism from the accident. They're gonna hit me with a fucking medication, have us selling opioids.
Yeah, again, so like the treatment of his mental dysfunction is again fodder for the Jewish question. Like everything gets funneled through that. Yep.
For them. They made me the face of bipolar. Okay, nigga, Big Pharma, where my royalties, nigga? For the fucking drugs you done sold off of the idea of Ye being bipolar.
Don't say shit right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They come here
I think I pretty much wrapped up
Still talking. Like, who
everything
are
I want
you?
to say.
Who are you?
I'm just saying they.
Yeah, take out.
Yeah, come on, you got to go. Sorry. Come on. Ready?
I'm just saying I was.
I'm just saying. Come on.
All right. Well, that was a weird ending, but yeah. Okay. I think that at this point, like, nobody really should be listening to him because everything he says is incoherent or crazy. So, and I'm just watching this because it's trending. Well, it is trending, but additionally, I want to make some comments about it. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's any really thing. Oh yeah, well there's. I mean, I guess I could talk about this, but. By the way, that was a short version. That was 6 minutes. He's ranting for a good 10 minutes, I think. Like the full video. Now that was the last 6 minutes or something. Yeah. Okay. I think we can move forward. Yeah, so something that maybe people know or don't know, but I'm like really into gridiron football. not the fake football where you kick it with your feet. Real actual football. So that's been taking up a large portion of my time in the past couple months, and a little bit before that. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, there's a couple games going on today, so I probably will go watch that when that's it's at 1 o'clock. So yeah. Ooh. All right. So we're gonna finish that or that react or oh my god, that debate. And then while we're watching, I'll probably play some game. I'll have to do it actually through better. I'll have to do it through Microsoft Edge. Okay, let's see. No, no, no. Okay, we'll get that up. Oh, good, I can do picture in picture. That's exactly what I wanted. All right. Let's see. Uh. All right. We are gonna play while we watch this or listen to it. We're gonna play a game. Now let me change the audio. It's gonna take a little bit of setting up, but it shouldn't be too long. Okay. Oh wow, my dog is conked out behind me. I didn't even notice that. Thank you. Maybe this won't work because I'm not seeing the picture in picture. Maybe it won't work. That's unfortunate. Well, maybe it'll show up for you guys. Alright. Yeah, it'll show up for you guys, so that's good. Oh, there we go. Where am I at? Alright, that's showing up for you. Whoa, hold on. That's probably fine. Yeah. Alright. We're gonna continue on. I think I don't remember the last thing we said, but we're talking about apparently now the addiction part.
I just don't agree that it's bad for everybody.
But my
Because
point here is that even people who find a way to morally rationalize the
But
use
that
of pornography or whatever it is, down the line at large outcome.
If only there was a way, man, I just don't really know how to get that superseded over. I think if I go, hold on. No. Oh, there we go. Yep, that's perfect. Well, unfortunately, the controls are failing to work. Hold on. Sorry. I probably should have tested this, see if it would actually work. See, that's just too slow. I just wonder if there's a way to make that faster. Okay, here's what we'll do. Because full screening, it allows me to be much easier. We'll just listen to it, and then I'll pause when I need to. Whoa. All right, let's go.
Outcomes are worse for open marriages.
But those
or
that kind of
for
argument
people
is like
drinking.
saying, well, gambling addiction isn't really real because the people who are most upset about gambling are only the people who are upset about losing money. The people who don't care about losing money, well, they're not really that psychologically disturbed about gambling a lot. But maybe they should be worried about that, just like people should be worried about what porn is doing to them when it desensitizes their brain and it makes them think that I need more and more hits and more disturbing pornography to get off.
But the
Yeah, that argument could be made about anything, though. It could be made about alcohol. It could be made about eating disorders. It could be made about doing drugs. I mean, like, you can make that same desensitization argument for like anything, really. I mean, you can get down to it. Just seeing here. Okay, I think. Just adjusting it a little bit. Also, I'm just a little worried about the audio. Maybe I'll turn it down.
Difference is that with, and that's why the DSM-5 accepts gambling. They've said multiple times, they've rejected porn multiple times because you can't make a link to how much people
They
view.
include hypersexuality under impulse control
Not
disorder.
in the DSM-5. That's in the World Health Organization.
Yeah,
it's a compulsion, but not an addiction.
But is a compulsion a good thing, Jasmine?
Well, is hypersexuality just a compulsion to masturbate, or is it a compulsion to have sexual experiences?
It's
I
like
mean, either way is a compulsion that you are at the mercy of, and that often brings a lot
it's
of
a
harm
very
and
small
suffering.
percentage.
No, but I don't
Is
see.
that a
I
good
don't see
goal?
the difference there. That if you can be in a situation where, I think gambling and porn, they're very similar in their compulsivity. That there are lots of people who can gamble. I gamble, and I didn't lose the house. Lots of people can gamble, but there's a subset when they gamble. It turns their brain on too much, and they need to get more and more highs from it, so they gamble more and more and more. And just even seeing the slot machine, it does something to their brain, and they're in a situation where I don't want to be gambling. I feel bad. I don't want to be doing this, but they just can't stop. Similar thing with porn. There's lots of people who watch porn, and they don't turn into maniacs or anything like that. But there's a subset where it lights up their brains, and they know, I don't want to be doing this. I know it's just killing my marriage.
All right, so
my
who
wife
cares?
feels awful knowing that I go and look at this stuff. I feel bad, but I can't stop. Don't those seem like similar levels of compulsion?
It may seem that way, but the scientific consensus, right, the DSM-5 statement is that other excessive behavioral patterns such as internet gaming have also been described, but the research on these and other behavioral syndromes is less clear. They make it akin to exercise addiction, shopping addiction, and sex addiction. The data is just not there.
The point is
that it affects you the way gambling does.
You
So
can't
it's not me
present data
saying
to
it,
these
that's what
guys. They
Yeah,
will
but the
reject it.
DSM-5 is not an infallible Bible for everyone. You have other studies. For example, Love et al. Published a study on the Neuroscientific Foundation of Pornography Addiction, and that was a 2015 article, and they a meta-analysis, and they do link it to other addictions and other compulsions. So I think if people just look at it, you just take a bird's eye view, the person who feels bad gambling and can't stop, the person who feels bad shopping and can't stop, and the person who looks at porn or sees prostitutes and feels bad and can't stop. It all seems pretty similar
But
to
the
me.
difference is that with porn, they've done multiple studies
Yeah,
where
but
it's like somebody who has positive attitudes toward it.
But like the thing is, like I said already, like you can say this about anything, like any compulsion. You can say this about, because like people, I have the capacity to develop issues all the time, like, you know, with it, really anything, any vice that there is, like, certainly it's possible to develop an unhealthy relationship with it, right? Whether it be addiction or something else, right? So the highlighting of a porn specifically as being uniquely evil or something is just like kind of weird. I don't know. All right, let's continue.
Versus someone who has negative attitudes to it, they're watching the same amount and they're having the same.
That's a short-term. Those are short-term studies, though.
But it's
So
what all the
but the
data
point is, you
shows.
can tell yourself, again, you can live in unreality and tell yourself, you know, this sexual act of infidelity. I know you don't call it infidelity because someone consented to it, but me going and, you know, being polyamorous, or me going and having multiple sexual experiences outside of my marriage or my relationship, or me going and looking at pornography or using pornography, you can tell yourself and experience short-term pleasure. You absolutely
No, I think
can.
a lot of wives would
So
say
we're
that
not-
if their husband is chatting with you on a live cam, they would say that's cheating. Do you think a
Yes.
lot of
Well,
wives
yeah.
would feel that way?
You
I
don't know
agree.
how many wives find me for their husbands.
Also, wait, hold on. Yeah, when we talk about like cheating or
So, but-
murder,
but-
when we talk about like murder is clearly unjustified killing, right?
Where do we talk about murder?
I'm just saying that the word murder means that's just unjustified killing. It's baked into there's no such thing as a justified murder.
Yeah, they're
when you
begging
use
the
the word
question.
cheating, then you're begging the question. Of course, it's
Right.
wrong.
Yeah.
But
Right.
the question is whether or not these behaviors can be engaged in like consensual ways.
My
Right. So to
point-
say that like,
my-
oh well,
But that takes
you're-
us back to what is sex for. That might maybe
That's
we're-
fine. Yeah, we can go back to that. Wait,
my
wait,
point is
hold on, wait.
that-
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
Go
one
right
second.
ahead.
Okay, yeah. I'm just saying that you can't just keep calling it cheating over and over and over again because you're begging the question. You're loading in with the word cheating is baked into this idea that a boundary is being violated or that a non-consensual activity is happening, and that might be your position and that might be your opinion, but you can't have that perspective on two other people's boundaries. If they say, well, in our relationship we're allowed to watch porn, it's inappropriate
Well,
for
I
you
was
to call
actually
that
making
cheating.
a different point in response to Jasmine's
Well, no, hold on. I'm
position.
just being clear because Jasmine contradicted that point, and then you tried to explain why. Well, actually, it is always infidelity. When infidelity again has baked into it that you're tautologically trying to define
Yeah,
away the
you-
argument, which is whether or not you can engage in these behaviors in a healthy way. And you're saying, well, obviously you can't because it's infidelity. It's like, well, you're begging the question. So if we're going to talk about the behaviors themselves, we can, but you can't call them
You
all
can
cheating or
define the
infidelity.
terms
right?
as you please. I think my point here with
Well,
Jasmine,
hold on. Wait, what I'm not defining it as I please. We all agree that that's what those words mean. Every single person watching. Infidelity and cheating means that you are doing something in contradiction to what your partner wants. We all agree with that. And we all agree
well,
that
it's
those are bad.
specific to sexual behavior
Sure,
outside
but
of your
everybody
relationship
here
with your
agrees that
partner.
infidelity and cheating is bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we all agree with that. So then why say like, well, this is cheating? We already agree that that's bad.
I mean,
It's whether
we
or not
can
it is
agree
cheating,
to
right?
disagree on the point that yes, I think it is infidelity
Well-
or cheating.
So you think that
to
if,
have
like,
sex outside of
Two
your
people are in a
marriage,
relationship
I
and
think
they
that
say
is
that,
being
hey, it's
shut
okay
you
if we
up.
watch porn. You think they're still cheating on each other?
I
in
think
your
that is
world?
being unfaithful to each other. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So, but-
she has a different view on it.
Yeah, I
She
understand,
has a different
but
definition, I guess.
sure.
And we can agree to disagree on that at this point. But my larger point that I was trying to make with you, Jasmine, or kind of get to the bottom of was, yes, you can say I'm feeling great about this. I just had an orgasm. It feels great. I'm so happy with this, pornography I just consumed, or this, webcam person I just spoke with, or whatever, or had this, relationship with, or whatever it is. But in the long term, these things don't serve the person or society. So we can.
Neither does anything else really. Well, actually, that's not true. Hold on. Let me amend my statement here. When it comes to sex work, what is really the purpose fundamentally? Now, my perspective is that sex work is there to provide a service in a way, but it's one in which the design is to solicit, obviously, like a good time, dopamine, whatever. It's for leisure. And as far as serving society is concerned, I mean, like, it depends on what metrics you're really using, because, like, at the end of the day, like, serving society could mean something as simple as being an entertainer and, entertaining the masses, or it could mean something else, such as, like, being a firefighter or, like, a cop or something. So, like, I think, like, that is kind of, like, an important thing to keep in mind. I'm gonna make a huge fucking lake here. I think. This is where it's gonna end, and then I'm gonna drag that to the right, and then we'll see where it goes. Okay.
We can actually agree with you that hedonism feels good in the moment. Like, I don't think Trent would even disagree, at least for the person taking part in the hedonism. They might feel sick deep in their conscience, but I think in the moment,
What?
physically, they're going to feel good. And that's the temptation of
Wait, like, I just can't get over this framing of, like, it being hedonistic to be a, like, it's hedonistic to what? Like, be a sex worker? Or to engage in sex that isn't conducive to reproduction? Like, I think that's just weird to describe it as hedonism, though. Like, to me, that is coming across as, like, and I said this in the last stream, but, like, when they use the word hedonism, it seems like they're describing the act of sex work as being, like, they're describing it as being, like, selfish. Like, you are doing a selfish act. You're not doing it conducive to what God had intended you to use those organs for. You're doing it to violate the sanctity of God and doing it for selfish purpose. Like, that's the vibe I kind of get from here. From that, rather, yeah.
hedonism, right? It's like, it feels good. Of course I'm going to do it.
But that's not true. I mean, women who view pornography report higher sexual satisfaction, improved communication about sex with
And
their
how
partner,
is there
greater
how is
comfort
the
with
long-term
their own
study on
sexual,
them?
well, greater comfort with their own sexual orientation, more frequent and higher
Is
quality
that a-
sex,
is that a lo-
easier
is
time
that a
reaching
long-term
orgasm.
So the problem here also is like, as she has mentioned already, is that like there's a lot of conflicting data out there. So you're going to have some studies which conform to one set of beliefs, while you have other sets of studies that conform to a different set of beliefs. So the issue is that you have conflicting data, and there's data to support both sides of the matter, which can be an issue. Sorry.
Study following
There's
their
multiple
life.
studies. Almost
and their
all the
porn
data
use.
on women in pornography in the old days, it used to give them negative body image issues. But since like people like me, you know what, you're welcome, or like more amateur porn started coming out, actually women report feeling better about their bodies. There's a huge study about women feeling much better about their vulvas now because they're seeing different types of vulvas represented in
So you
porn.
think pornographic accounts online, like there's a lot of Instagram accounts, for example, that are kind of some soft core pornography, are making women at large and young girls at large feel good about their bodies?
Pornography, there's
I don't think
studies
that's
about
correct at all.
pornography and
That's not
women
what
who
she
view
said.
pornography, because a lot of women watch like amateur porn more so than the mainstream studio porn now, and you're seeing all different kinds of body types. So that study that was done on women who now feel like, oh, I actually feel better about my vulva, I feel better about my body. When we compare that to women who viewed porn in the past, but when studio porn was the only kind of porn out, we're seeing a big difference.
Yeah, I mean,
And
at large, sexual objectification of women online and
Who is the
objectifying
majority?
certain,
Who views porn
especially
more,
certain
men or
body
women?
parts, has been detrimental to young girls' mental
men
health.
view porn more, but women
Yeah, also, well, hold on. Let me see how this... Well, actually, wait. So, when it comes to the viewership of porn, obviously is going to comprise a larger portion of that demographic. But there's also, I mean, there are tons of women also who watch porn. Not compared to men, but definitely a lot of women do watch porn.
women also do view it.
Sure,
like, pretty
I don't
frequently.
disagree with that, but I think we just still need to go back to just the idea of my argument. I think would be our argument that why pornography and prostitution is bad for society is that it encourages this false view about what sex is for that leads to all of these kinds of bad consequences.
what are the bad
Wait,
consequences?
also
Wait,
can I
hold on.
run
That's
these-
really stupid, because like people still birth rates really going down, or am I like tripping here? Because like people you can watch porn, and porn can be ubiquitous without compromising people's understanding of what sex is for, right? Because like people still understand that there are consequences to having sex. I'm sure sex workers more than anybody understand that. Hence why they're probably more likely to like insist on, or probably more likely to take STD tests and insist on condoms and all that shit, right? Go on birth control, whatever the case may be. So they are fully aware of the consequences of sex. I think saying that like people have a warped understanding if we normalize sex work is just kind of stupid.
I'm taking notes on something. Okay. Okay. So real quick on just like from top to bottom. So
Well, why don't we go back and forth?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can. Yeah, I just want a chance to go back and forth on some of these. I heard a lot of points from Red. I haven't been able to jump in on a lot of these. On the first one, so in 2013, the FBI redefined rape to include all forms of penetration on somebody, including like digital penetration. So that largely explains like the huge gap in numbers there. I don't know if you were trying to imply that in 2013 there was a spike that happened due to pornography or due to some other reason.
I'm saying I'm saying that's certainly plausible. It's a part of it, and you don't have enough evidence to say that explains all of the increase.
No, but there was a massive redefinition.
It also wouldn't explain the increase at the same time in England.
And you
I
have
don't
no
know about the
evidence
increase
that
in England.
porn-
Well, I don't know about the increase in England, but I feel like if the numbers dramatically jumped in 2013, it's strange that you didn't search for the answer for why they jumped and just assumed because it fits the
There's-
narrative of it must be pornography or whatever.
There's
When a
also-
redefining of rape would be a really big reason why the numbers might change. For instance, if
there's-
you're familiar with Sweden's sexual assault statistics relating to immigration and everything, like the Swedish redefinition of a lot of these crimes is a reason why some of these numbers jump. So I think anytime you see a huge jump in the data, I think if you're inquisitive, you'll usually ask like, oh, well, I wonder why the data changed.
But,
Yeah.
but
One of the
there's also been meta-analysis
you're
of porn
inquisitive.
consumption that shows that many studies that show the link between porn use, and keep in mind, a lot of porn today, some studies say 88% of porn today involves violence or aggressive acts.
I don't
and
believe
there's
that.
A, there's
Women
a link
are
between,
like-
Wait, when you
there's
say
a link
violence or
between,
aggressive acts, what does that mean?
it involves, I mean, at the extreme simulation of
No,
sexual
you said
assault.
88%. I watch a lot of porn. I don't know
No.
how much porn is violent or aggressive. I'm just curious what counts as an aggressive act. 88% of porn is aggressive acts?
Forceful, causing pain or discomfort to the person that's being involved in the sexual act.
Yeah, so that's one that was a 2010 study. Another one
but-
that was published by Vera Gray, 2021, in the British Journal of Criminology, said that it put it at 1 in 8
Criminology.
had acts of violence that would be considered violence, like under, things
Sure.
like
The law.
for example, binding forelimbs and penetration.
All right, I don't wanna do too
gagging,
much.
I could buy the 1 in 8.
But
The
to
1
just
in
finish
8.
my first point,
Women
just
are
to
the
finish-
ones that are disproportionately actually seeking that stuff out. So is that also
Well,
just to police people?
They're also disproportionately
Or
addicted
some
to
guys
stuff.
just
I
into
would
that.
say,
Wait,
I
wait,
mean,
hold
that's-
on just a sec.
yeah.
Destiny, you wanted to go, and then Lila. I'll
Yeah.
have you
I
respond.
just wanted to
Go ahead,
dive
Destiny.
into it. So I could believe the 1 in 8 number, the 88%. There's no chance that that's true.
That's not of all pornography. It's of the 300 most common.
Sure, I'm just saying
shit.
88% of all pornography being violent, unless you're defining like oral sex as violent, there's no shot that the number is that high. That's just
It's of the most popular.
You know
And
what?
that's why on Pornhub you're having teens, and then you're having step parents involved or
What?
stepmom involved.
I think
You're
I think
increasingly
urinating
deranged forms of it.
and ejaculating on somebody's face. I think that's violent and degrading.
Well, wait, hold on. No, no, it's fucking not. When we say something violent, we mean that it's like you could say it's like probably graphic, and that would probably be a fair assessment. But to say it's violent is morally loading, to say the least. I don't know if I would describe that as violent. Like ejaculate, like coming on some, whatever, some woman's face or a guy. I guess maybe if it's a guy or whatever. That hardly describing that as violent is pretty much a stretch. Like let's be honest. That's kind of a stretch there. Because I wouldn't describe it as violent more than it is just graphic, right? And if that's not your cup of tea or whatever, that's fine, whatever. But to say it's violent is kind of inaccurate. Also, pissing on somebody's face, that's what are we talking about, man? How many porn videos involve that? That's got to be less than 10%.
I understand what you're saying, but to the vast majority of normal human beings, urinating on somebody's face is far different than ejaculating on somebody's face. Maybe in the Catholic world, those are similar things, but in the ordinary world, those are two completely
In the
different
ordinary,
things.
in the real
I think
world.
most people in the regular world would consider that utterly degrading.
I'm saying those two things are different. If you want to classify both of them as degrading, that's
Well,
fine.
why are they different?
Because I don't know how much into detail, but urinating on somebody's face, the kink of water sports, is considered to be generally more extreme. There's far fewer people that are into it, and you're involving non-sexual fluids now in a sexual sense. That's just considered a more hardcore type of.
Why? If anything, urine is probably a more sterile.
Motherfucker, he just explained it because you're involving non-sexual fluids.
Liquid, and just because fewer people do it doesn't mean it's more extreme. I'm sure there's fewer people who do Star Trek cosplay porn, but that doesn't mean it's more extreme than others just because it's a minority. I think that's just
It's probably
you just have
considered
an
more
intuition
extreme.
here.
It's not an intuition. It's because generally the further you get away from things that are less directly involved with sex, and then the more uncomfortable those things tend to make people, the more we would classify those things as being kind of extreme. I think it's I mean, I don't know if. I'm sure we could have a huge debate on is bukkake porn considered extreme, or is it just a hardcore kink? Or we can get into it. I'm just saying in general, if you look at the number of people into a kink like water sports, or you mentioned scatology, stuff like that, versus
Water
people that are
sport.
into,
You're talking about. Is that just urinating on others, or is it other?
urinating on people?
Yeah.
Or I think anything involving people. I'm not sure. I don't.
Okay.
Maybe Brian can fill us in more on.
because that's just euphemism. I enjoy water sports. I don't enjoy that.
Well, that's what it's called.
No,
right?
I don't care. I mean, people can come up with all of this sort of stuff to smooth
That
over.
is what it's called.
What is
Hold on,
actually
no one's
going
trying to.
on
I'm just trying to give an accurate accounting
That's
of how you refer to these things. If you're looking them up or trying to find
Go
out.
ahead. Did you want to ask anything else? Or I have a question
I
as
reject
well.
this idea of like, well, as pornography increases, child sex material increases. Therefore,
That's a fact, though.
that's
Destiny.
fine that it's a fact. But what I notice is oftentimes with porn, to try to refute like the central point, people will point to a negative outcome that might be increasing and pretend that that counts as a refutation of the single point. A statement that I can
That's
make.
not what we did, though, Destiny.
That's exactly what you're doing.
No.
You're saying that as
It's
pornography increases, child sexual material might increase, which means it's an attack against pornography. But I would say is
it's a form of pornography.
Let me finish my statement. What I would say it is a form of pornography. Literally, the increase of anything involving, say, children playing video games necessarily
That's
increases
not
the
what I
exposure of
wanted.
them to people looking to abuse children. That doesn't necessarily mean that online video games or children playing online video games are bad. It just means that you have to control for the negative outcome of people abusing people playing online video games. Same thing with pornography. It's not an argument against pornography.
I
That some
probably
people
shouldn't
might abuse it in a way.
put
There
that
might be
all
some
the way
people
up
that
there.
actually record actual sexual assault. That's not an argument against pornography. It's an argument against people doing that bad thing.
It is an argument of the most commonly searched for terms are things like teen, barely legal, and they're constantly searched over and over as the most popular thing, which people aren't doing with like video games.
what
I mean,
is, like,
here's
the
the here's
harm-
the
If
here's
something-
the,
well, if
but
something-
here's the theory that I think that the social data proves very clearly, and this is the point that when we disorder sex, when we divorce sex from love, fidelity, commitment, family, like the whole project of marriage. I'm gonna, sex can bring life into the world. If we do bring the life into the world,
might
we're
have
going
to
to stick
start over.
together, love each other, build a family together. When you take sex out of that context, out of the context of love and marriage, and you put in the context
That's probably
of
fine.
my goal, my orgasm, what I want, right? At whatever cost I can pay,
I'm not sure if I'm liking
provided
this
someone
anyway.
else consents,
Might
right?
have to do.
It's not just, I think, that person that will suffer and the other people engaged directly in that will suffer, but it is children. And so you said, well, yes, okay, there's a proliferation of child sexual assault material, yeah, but that's not saying porn is responsible for that. That is a form of the porn that's being created and consumed at large in our society. So to say that children are somehow
Source on that? I think a lot of porn that's consumed is just standard stuff, right? Like big tits, pog, whatever. Like, I don't think, like, I think they're over emphasizing, or rather overestimating, the degree to which, like, the teen category, for example, or like categories that sexualize younger people. I think they're overestimating just how ubiquitous that is. I think it's probably to some extent, like, yeah, but I don't think it's like the majority, right?
unscathed by the proliferation of porn, I think is totally untrue, Destiny.
That's fine,
And in
but to
addition,
say that it- okay.
and in addition, I'll just say one other thing. The flip side of this, we've debated on this before, Trent has as well. Sexual hedonism at large, in addition, leads to what we have today, which is abortion on demand. You mentioned abortion rates are so low.
So we're just gonna shoehorn every fucking talking point that you can think of. You're just gonna shoehorn everything in, because Lila is famous for her anti-abortion like advocacy. So all roads like I said, all roads lead to Rome. Am I right? This is quite clearly to me this seems quite clearly like like just like using this as a vector to do the same old talking points you do about everything else. Yeah. Now I'm just saying here, with regards to this water thing, I don't really have a plan. I'm just kind of like winging it. Now I should, however, probably, I want the mouth of it to end somewhere, obviously. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, they're actually very high. There are nearly 1 million a
I
year
said they're lower
in this
since
country.
when porn with the wide like availability of porn, it's gone down a lot. So I'm
But
just
the
curious, 'cause
internet
you guys
has-
are saying,
but
oh my gosh,
not
there's all
in-
this violent stuff now.
Jasmine,
I'm looking
you
at the
know,
data.
Jasmine.
There's nothing linking porn
Jasmine,
to increased
there's more-
violence. Is there actually a lot of studies that link the wide availability of pornography to less
Jasmine,
violence? I have
there's
3
more
studies right
pornography
here.
today.
We found that in the
But
Czech
Jasmine,
Republic, in
Jasmine,
Denmark.
Jasmine, I think, needs to chill. Not because I necessarily disagree with her points. I don't know if they're valid or not. However, like, we're at a point in the conversation where, like, just, you know, like, relying so much on the empiricism isn't necessarily going to work anymore because, like, we have the data, but they also have their own data, which they sincerely believe is accurate. They've presented, I think, like 3 different pieces of data that support their arguments, but like she has all this shit, right? And that's great, and you should have that shit ready. The problem is that the tone and the way this conversation is starting to develop, it's just not going to be as effective as like a rhetorical strategy. Unfortunately, like you can use it to supplement your arguments, but to rely on it, I think like she needs to. I think there needs to be something here, different, like a different approach.
3 or 4
Japan,
decades ago,
in
it was
China,
find
and
a
in Hong
Playboy
Kong.
magazine or go to an adult video store.
These are
Today, porn is everywhere.
So why are we
So-
not seeing this proliferation of violence and all these terrible things
we are
happening?
seeing a
no,
lot
we're not.
of-
Those are all
we're
less
seeing a lot
than
of
they were
social
before.
ills.
When there were just those Playboy magazines,
That-
we had way more of that stuff than we do now with
So
pornography
you're
widely
saying
available.
we had, so is your argument that we had less child sexual assault material?
Child abuse has declined.
So
And
you
this is from
saying,
the-
are you saying that child sexual assault material can be created without child abuse?
I'm saying that that like child abuse cases, all of those have gone down. I'm also saying
That's
that
incorrect,
STD
Jasmine.
rates have
It's-
gone. This is according to
That's
this.
incorrect.
So
That's
It's
incorrect.
just incorrect. Okay, well, what
Yeah.
data do you have that shows
So
that that's
your argument is that the
Here
proliferation
comes the
of
straw
porn,
man.
somehow that has led to less
I didn't
child
say it's
sexual abuse.
led to. I'm not saying
There
causation.
it is. So
what's
here.
your argument
My
then?
argument here is that if porn became widely available and it's so violent and it's so terrible, then how come we're not seeing those outcomes
Why is
reflected
there a
in real
proliferation
life?
of child sexual assault material on the internet and it increases every
Because
year?
we have the
Jasmine?
internet now. We didn't have the internet before, but when we
Okay, wait, hold on.
since we
So,
had the internet,
so Jasmine's saying that the consequence of there being an increase in child sexual abuse materials online is a product of the internet itself, allowing for more people to more users to use it. Whereas Lila is saying that it is because of the proliferation of porn. Yeah.
So we've had less abortion,
Or that's
less
what she
syphilis,
thinks.
less gonorrhea, less teen sex, less teen birth rates have
I love
fallen
less
33%
gonorrhea.
according to the CDC. SA has
So-
declined, and then
So
there was
your
that spike.
your
and
argument is that child sexual assault material is not porn, or what is your argument?
my
then?
argument, I'm not even talking about child sexual assault material.
What are you
now. My argument here is that when porn became widely available, we didn't see an increase in violence. In fact, I have lots of studies here that show that once porn became widely available, like for instance in the Czech Republic,
When did porn become widely available in the United States?
around the early 2000s. That's what I read.
So I think I can understand the argument you're making, but I don't think it bears out. For example,
Right.
with divorce rates, as an example.
Uh-oh.
As I said earlier,
Here we go.
one of the second highest, most quoted thing when it comes to divorce today is the pornography use of one of the partners.
But divorce
So-
rates have also gone down since the
but
early
overall,
2000s.
they've gone up over the last
Not since the
40,
so this is
50
my
years.
question.
But-
Since porn has
So-
become available, they have not gone up. They've actually gone down since the early 2000s.
Well,
don't-
one reason
so-
they go down is people are
I-
choosing not to marry in the
That's
first
less
place.
fine,
people
but what
marrying,
I'm
that's
saying, and I
true.
don't think they're choosing not. I don't think they're not choosing to get married
But-
because
but
porn
I-
is available. But you have no link to that. My question is,
But hold on,
if
I think it's
all
a
of-
fact. It is a fact that the sexual revolution, which took place in this country
Oh,
mid 20th
fucking
century,
God.
which opened the floodgates of pornography, first with, Playboy magazine.
I love how everything leads to the fucking same talking points. Like they have no original thoughts, man. It's crazy. The sexual revolution, it's the same talking points all the time. Same shit. Sorry.
And then later on with the internet, which opened the floodgates to, no-fault divorce,
By the way,
more divorce, swinger culture.
Notice the framing here. Open the floodgates. Obviously, she's implying that this has been a major. This has played a major role in why there's all these societal ills, and it is yeah, it's just It's just bad framing, dishonest framing. Yeah, bias.
Culture, open marriages, all of this stuff, abortion, all of this stuff, that those all things, those social ills all mushroom together.
Things.
And
So
they
then-
still exist in large quantities in our
Okay.
society today together. Because when you treat sex just as orgasm or as something that as an adult I'm entitled to as long as I consent and someone else is consenting, and sex has no other morality around it, you are opening the door, and we have
No
the
other
doors
reality.
wide open to divorce, to abortion, to a lot of the unhappiness that we're seeing in relationships
So
today.
you said all the
And
social
porn is
data,
part of
though, agrees with you, but I'm pointing out that abortion rates have fallen 41% since the 90s. So
But
since-
abortion rates, since porn has been entered into the mainstream,
yes, has gone down.
up over the last 50 years dramatically.
But
So-
it became widely available in the late 90s, so the CDC abortion rates have fallen 41%
I don't think the data
since
shows
the
what you're saying it's
1990s.
showing.
People
But-
look it up. This is the CDC that's saying this.
But you don't think that porn is the only reason?
I
for
don't
that.
think that. But
Or-
my
but we don't even
question
know
to
if
you
it's
is
Yeah,
that
she's
if
not
it's
even
such a
arguing that
terrible
porn is the
thing,
cause of
where
it.
are these terrible outcomes?
And I'm
Because
trying
not
to say
seeing
that
them.
I'm trying to say that porn, whether it was the Playboy porn or it's the vastly available internet porn,
The terrible
So you think they're the same?
I think that they are part of the same problem, which is divorcing meaning from sex and welcoming, putting arms around hedonistic culture that breaks down.
I just don't get, like, I'm sorry, but it's like the same shit. I just don't get, like, why are they so under the presumption that like the sex industry, or rather the not the sex industry, what am I trying, like porn in general, why are they so under the presumption that this is due to, like, that you can't have like a romantic relationship but also be a sex worker? Like, it doesn't, or like watch porn but also, you know, be happily married. Like, I just don't understand the relationship there. Now they may defer to like statistics or whatever, but like, I just think that it's to sit, like, because with porn, like, let's take an example with like porn consumption and divorce rates. Like, I just feel like if you are at a point where you're getting divorced, it's hard to attribute that decision of getting divorced to the consumption of porn specifically, when I'm sure that there were other variables playing into, you know, somebody wanting to get divorced at all. I don't think it's a causative factor. And I think I said this also in the last stream, but yeah.
Families and breaks down marriages, and I'm saying that in the last 50 years in this country, we have seen unprecedented divorce,
50 years?
unprecedented abortion, we've seen unprecedented STIs. The sexual revolution's harm
Are we
at large.
talking about the sexual
hold on.
revolution or porn? Because I'm not talking about 50 years. I'm talking about since porn became widely available. You guys are saying, and all these terrible things, teen mom porn, so
Yeah.
violent. Where are the outcomes that show that this is such an harm? Because I'm not seeing
about-
that.
how
I
about
have
the
3
first-
studies here. Actually, there's a lot of evidence that
Do
porn
you
has
think-
a cathartic effect.
Do you
on
think
men.
it's bad, Jasmine, that the average first stage of exposure to pornography is 11 years old?
I don't think that's ideal, but I don't think
No,
that
it's
we're
not
seeing-
asked. I said, is it bad?
Yeah, I think it's bad, but I'm not seeing that it's so bad that it's leading to such terrible outcomes, because it's not.
what
Where
hap-
are these outcomes?
What happens when children are exposed to pornography?
Actually, there's also a lot of conflicting data on that. A lot of the data on this is really
He's looking
frustrating
for his
because it's
TikTok
really
Is-
conflicting.
is
I
it-
have studies-
compilation.
Well, we're living in
destroys
but
lid.
Jasmine, part of the reason for that is we're living in a social
Wait,
experiment.
hold on one second.
Wait, what?
I want to know. Is it
What? Did she say we're living in a socialist? Okay. Obviously untrue, but
bad when 11-year-olds
also, by the way, has zero relationship to the things we're talking about.
exposure to pornography? I'm just saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a bad thing in the sense that
why,
it's not
why
ideal.
is it bad? What does it do to them?
I don't. It's like
He's looking for his
they're not
TikTok.
old enough. Their prefrontal cortex isn't developed enough to be able to look at that and realize what's real, what's not real, how sex is supposed to go. So I don't think porn is a great way.
How is sex supposed to go?
Probably not like the right. If you're on Pornhub watching like 8 people gangbang someone, they're gonna think that that is normal.
That's not normal.
Not
Okay,
like-
wait, hold on, wait. Okay, I think when we talk about how sex is supposed to go, okay, I think we have to build a constructive case for what are different ways that we can view sex. You guys seem to be really happy to say that like sex ought to be this, or society's destroyed sex, or blah, 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 blah. I think that you can posit a separate argument that sex is actually something that the body is capable of experiencing, that is a lot of fun, and we've evolved beyond the need to view sex as just a tool or a facility to pump out children, and instead can view it as a way to bond with people or have fun or enjoy recreationally. I think that we have the tools today to enjoy that because we've got things to protect or cure STDs, we've got ways to prevent pregnancies, we've got different types of birth controls. I think that it's okay that society has taken on a different view of sex, just like we've taken on a different view of women working jobs, or a different view of what kind of clothes can we wear because we have air conditioning, or a different view of what are the hours that we can be awake where we can travel. I think it's just natural that different things will evolve over time, that we'll view different things. Yeah, we can view things differently based on our way of engaging with them.
According to the Go Backer Institute, for women that get abortions, 50% of them in the month that they got pregnant were using contraception. So when you kind of say, well, now we have these technologies that can somehow sort of blunt the natural consequences of sex.
I'm sorry, wait,
so
what was this?
therefore
What was that supposed to refute?
So what's that supposed to refute is you're saying that we have all of these powers now.
To change the way we engage with sex,
to
yes.
change the way we engage with
was
sex.
anything I said incorrect?
I think it's fully incorrect. to
Okay,
say
do you think that contraception reduces the likelihood? Well, no, let's one stat at a
Let
time.
me finish.
No, hold on, because
I
you're
didn't
just started
even
with.
get to ask my question.
I didn't even barely talk for 2 sentences, and you wanted to cut me off with the thing about abortion. So I'm going to ask you: do you think contraception is effective at dramatically reducing the rates of getting impregnated?
I think that at large, contraception has led to the mindset, a contraceptive
I'm going to ask
mindset.
the same question again when you finish this.
I
it
think
depends.
that over time,
I'll
it
just keep
actually
asking then. That's okay.
increases, it actually leads to more abortion over time.
Do you think that contraception is effective at preventing pregnancies?
It can in the short term, but over time, it leads to more abortion.
Really? Do you have any evidence that
There's
somebody
been-
that
there's
is
been
on? So
studies-
you're saying you have a study right now that shows that somebody on contraception, on average, has more children over their lifetime than somebody that doesn't use contraception.
No, what I'm saying
Okay,
is,
so
for
then you don't
example,
have any
if you
evidence for that.
introduce-
I don't know.
no,
I don't.
let me finish.
Well, no, because
There
you're
have
giving
been-
you're giving me a lot of
Let-
like socially constructed opinions you have no data
No,
for
I
based
have
on your
data for
presumptions
that.
of how you think that sex should operate religiously. But I reject those things. So obviously we know that
Destiny,
contraception.
Destiny,
yeah,
we are
know
not
that-
making a case that sex ought to be done religiously or ought to be done in this particular way. We are just saying that the view that
Pussy.
prostitution and pornography require,
That's
which is
certainly
that
the
sex
implication
is
behind
just
what they're
a
saying.
hedonistic activity.
Nobody. Why does it require that?
Because it would be wrong if that. Okay, well, how would you answer the
It
question?
can have many purposes. I think that when I go to a massage parlor, I'm paying, $80 to get a massage.
Right.
That can just be a person giving me a massage. With a partner, having a partner rubbing your back or your neck, that can feel like a lot more romantic. So, just because I go to the massage parlor doesn't mean I devalue the experience with like a partner, no? Or do you think it does? Earlier you used the phrase, sex work isn't real because sex for hire doesn't make sense. It's like a friend for hire. What is a therapist? Can't you pay a therapist to review your problems with them
But
and then they
once you
give you
stop
feedback?
paying them,
And
they'll
then,
stop being
but
your
here's the
friend.
thing.
and once you stop paying a sex worker, they stop having sex with you. Yeah.
But the whole point
That's
of
why it's called work. Yeah. Go ahead.
because
the point
we
is that
don't
it's more
have.
meaningful than that.
Of course, it is more meaningful. I would agree. Just like having a really good, intimate conversation with a friend is more meaningful than having an intimate
I'm
conversation
so
with a
sorry.
therapist.
We've
Of course.
skipped around so many different places.
Only
There
because
was
I'm following
something-
you on your tangents. but
Well,
go ahead.
I was trying to ask. You made a.
So if sex work is just a skill, it's something that people enjoy.
Yeah.
Do there have to be? Is it something that only specialists can? Well, let's say for example, so Jasmine, a lot of people do OnlyFans. They have other jobs. Like you're a lawyer, you have other jobs. So you can have someone who's a masseuse and does OnlyFans, or a therapist and does OnlyFans, right? Okay, so you're like a sex worker by night, masseuse, therapist during the day. Would it be okay if they offered those sex services as a part of their day job, being a masseuse?
Depends on what the
being a
day job
therapist?
is. If it's like a lawyer or something, or if it's like a therapist, probably not, because you're violating like an appropriate relationship to have with somebody. But if it's like your auto mechanic and he also sells you like pictures of his dick, it's probably not as big of a deal. It would
Let me
depend
give
on
you
the type
another
of
example.
relationship.
So
Sure.
my wife was a nurse at the hospital, so she worked with neurotelemetry, and people have brain injuries, spine injuries, stuff like that, and also older people and people who would need things like bathing and cleaning. Okay, so they need to be cleaned, including clean their perineal care, so just like groin, crotch, butt, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And some of them would ask her, and this would also happen to other nurses, hey, while you're down there, could you just play with my wee-wee a little bit?
Wait, what?
Or, masturbate me.
Okay.
Wait, that's something that's happened? That's obviously very unethical. What the fuck? I hope that they reported that, if that's true.
Let's say you have a nurse who is also an OnlyFans, as a sex worker on the side. Should she be allowed to offer that?
My understanding, and I'm not a medical professional, but my understanding is that when you're
not.
making decisions related to patient care, if a patient under your care, engaging in friendly or sexual relationships with them can cause an inappropriate crossing of boundaries that compromises your ability to deliver good medical care. So I would say that in the case where somebody's like a therapist or a medical professional that's making decisions relating to your healthcare, it's probably
Why?
not
Because
appropriate.
you just related
but
therapy
why?
to
Lawyers
friendship.
can't even
and
accept
saying
Hold
it
on,
was
wait. How
worse
did my
when sex
relation
is
of therapy
worse.
to friendship break anything that I just said?
Because you're saying that you can't enter this new dynamic of sexual relationship in a healthcare setting because that somehow violates the healthcare setting.
What's
Why?
being violated?
That's Trent's question. Why?
What did I just say was being violated?
What is being violated?
I said it like 3 times. I'll repeat it again. It's compromising your ability to deliver care.
But if the care is included,
Let me ask you this
the
question:
sex work's
Is
included in care.
If the sex work, you wouldn't include sex work and health work together in care unless you're.
No. Okay. So.
We could invent a scenario where that's true. What if you're going to a hospital and part of the care is my husband has issues with erectile dysfunction? Maybe part of the health services is them jerking you off to make sure everything's working. In that case, you would combine it. Would you agree, or would you say it's still inappropriate? Wait, I want to answer for that. Would you, if that case, would that be an appropriate combination
no, I don't
of like?
think you should go to people to jerk you off. No, that's.
Do you think
That's
it would be
not
do you
what
think ignoring your personal?
Why can't they just engage the hypothetical for once in their life? That's not what he said. He said if it's part of the health care, it's not like you're just randomly going to get jerked off. You're going to get jerked off for the purpose of treating, in a way, your erectile dysfunction. It's not that he's going just to get jerked off for the sake of it.
Personal sexual views, do you think it would be
It's not
appropriate?
a personal sexual view. It's the view that's actually been
Because
held
sex-
for thousands of years by many millions
So
and billions
if
of people.
you're going to a hospital and they're trying to check you
So
for
appeal
a
to
working
nature
sexual
fallacy.
function, them seeing if you can get an erection, that would be an inappropriate way for them to examine you.
I think if they are really trying to determine if you can get an erection, there's a way, and you're a married person in a marriage. There's
What
a
if
way
you're not
to
a married person?
determine
What if you're
that.
single?
Why would they need to determine that?
Because believe it or not,
What
there
would
are
be the
people in
medical
this world that
situation?
even when they're not married, they want to ensure that their sexual function is working.
And sex is
Wait, no, I really want to answer that. I really want to answer that.
I
You
don't
disagree
think,
with that? You don't think your
it's
sexual function is
necessary.
relevant if you're not
No,
married?
I think it's relevant, but I think that I don't think it would be good care to go into a hospital and say.
There is
Okay,
a
hold on, wait. I really want to answer this. So, if you have problems with erectile dysfunction, it would be inappropriate for a healthcare provider to assess the ability of you to get an erection while you're at the hospital. That's inappropriate.
I mean, I think it depends. I'm curious what the standard of care is for that right now. I mean, do you know what the standard of care is?
I'm not,
right
but
now?
I'm asking you as a hypothetical. But I'm asking
Yeah.
if you go to the hospital, you have problems with erectile dysfunction. Doctor, I've got issues. And I say, okay, we're going to give you a medication. We're going to try something. And we'll see if we can get an
I think
erection.
it would be a strange form of care to say, well, let's try
I didn't ask if
things.
it was strange or not. I asked if it was
I think
appropriate.
I don't think it would be appropriate.
No,
You don't
I
think it would be
I
appropriate?
think giving a
Okay.
medication.
So
that type of healthcare
clear-
is totally
We
outlined.
would
To be clear,
agree
to be
it's
clear,
fine.
giving a medication would be appropriate.
It's fine
in
to
that case,
use
but
medical
to
treatment.
To stimulate them.
It's fine to use
is
medical
not
treatment to see if your body is working properly.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine to do things to acquire semen, for example. You might use, for example, with some patients, use electroejaculation stimulation of the prostate in order to
Jesus.
get. Well,
What
for some
the
patients,
fuck?
that's what you have to do, including if they're paralyzed.
Okay, I understand
So-
what you just said was a way more hardcore kink than water sports, but okay, go ahead. Jeez.
No, to see if you can ejaculate, to see if you're able. There is a difference between trying to determine if your body is functioning properly and saying that sex is just a service that can be provided. If we provide people in the hospital, we provide them all kinds of services to make sure they're comfortable, right? Like we give them television. They don't need that to live, right?
Okay.
But it makes them comfortable, correct?
Yeah.
So we give patients stuff in the hospital to make sure that they stay as comfortable. We give them television. We give them different food they can choose. We give them bathing, obviously. And when they're very uncomfortable, we do things to make sure they're comfortable. So if a patient says, sex would make me very comfortable, why wouldn't, if a nurse can clean the guy's testicles and penis and is already handling all of this, why not just you put on the gloves and give him a hand job?
Well, one is because it's illegal.
But
Two, if it were legal, my guess would be the procedure for that would be you would bring in a third party or you contract
Why?
out to somebody.
Why do you bring in a third party
I've already
to give the guy?
explained it.
Let me finish. Why do you need to bring in a third party to give the guy a hand job and not a third party to wipe his butt and clean between his peritoneum.
Because when you start engaging in romantic or sexual or
Well, who says it's
friendships-
romantic? It's just getting
I
off.
said or means
intimate.
any of these. When
Yeah.
you engage in romantic or sexual or friendship type things,
Yeah.
that these things
That's
are
odd that it's-
inappropriate because they compromise your ability to objectively offer care. For instance,
I didn't
would
know
it
this
be
was
inappropriate to
so
say,
fucked
well,
up.
can you
Hold
please just
on.
like jerk me off, you're gonna clean my ass? Yes, that would be, because if a patient starts to
All right, here's my take on this. Okay, I think that like when we need to, there are probably limitations and ethical concerns regarding the things they're talking about. You know, with this, a nurse cannot just like jack off some guy, like, right? Like there's like that's not allowed. Now obviously they're engaging in hypotheticals, I get that, but like the thing to keep in mind, in my opinion, would be that like I understand to some extent like why they're engaging in this type of, but like when it comes to like medical care, the like soliciting a sexual response from somebody, just it's just like not like relevant, really, I guess is the main thing I want to say. Or rather that they could do it themselves. I mean, they can jerk themselves off, but if they're incapacitated, I mean, there's probably ways to do it, but yeah, I don't know. I think generally speaking, it's just like a weird hypothetical.
have a sexual relationship with a practitioner, then if that practitioner has to make a tough call on that patient's health,
But
that
you-
might be compromised.
but
The same way that
Destiny-
let's say the
That's
person's
right, yeah,
saying
that's-
like,
yeah.
man, you know, my
But
kids
why,
never
why
come.
does sex do this stuff?
But it's
Let
not
me
just-
just finish. Hold on, I gotta finish this one thing. Oh my god. Okay. Let's say that the patient comes in, or the nurse comes in, and the patient starts talking to the nurse like, "Man, my kids aren't calling me. Like, I don't know what to do." And then the nurse sits around and they start talking blah 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 blah. That would be equally inappropriate. That would be incredibly inappropriate.
wait,
If they
repeat
started
that?
to form a very close friendship with a patient, that would also be inappropriate, because again, if a tough call has to be made on the patient, at some point you might not be able to make that tough call because now your judgment is compromised. This is why surgeons that have like wives or husbands don't operate on them, because their judgment is
But
compromised.
what if you can give hand jobs and you're not attached? It's just sex work.
Well, right now, in terms of how human relationships and everything work, it seems to be
so
the case
you're
that
saying something very important, which is that there is an emotional,
Well, can I
psychological
go-
component
so
to sex.
As a lawyer, we have rules
Am
on
I
how we're
understanding you
able to
correctly, though?
engage with people.
Hold
We're
on,
not
I just
allowed
wanna-
to
I wanna
accept
make
gifts,
sure,
for instance.
I want
Like,
to
as-
make sure I'm understanding Destiny correctly
Oh
and
my
what he just
God.
said.
Hold on, let
Okay.
Lila go, then we'll have you
okay.
come in. Go ahead.
And I do want to get back to the contraception thing, but you had said that there's an emotional, romantic connection to sex. That's I don't know if you used the word-
oftentimes there can be, yes.
Yes. So that sounds like more than work.
It can be.
Yeah. So you're when you guys talk about
Wait,
sex
no, hold
work,
on.
like
I'm sorry.
it's
Wait,
something-
I'm sorry, real quick. I reject that. What do you mean that sounds like more than work?
When you talk about sex work, like we can sell this commodity of sex, like
It's a service.
to lead, like it's a service. You're saying, well, but more emotions and psychological, romantic feelings get involved. Therefore, it doesn't belong in the professional setting of
As you
healthcare.
can see, I'm struggling
That's what
here.
you're
Because
saying.
but like,
So how can you still say it's work and it's a professional?
do teachers
job?
work?
Yes,
Do they have emotional connections to children and parents?
and they should. That's
okay,
a healthy
so then
thing.
that argument doesn't make any sense. So what's the next one?
Well, are you saying that a nurse should not have an emotional connection at all to her patient?
Generally, they try to minimize it. Yes.
They should have empathy. That's actually required for nurses to have empathy.
You're telling
They
me-
shouldn't have
Are
empathy.
you-
They should have compassion. They're two different things, because empathy
They-
can compromise your
sure,
ability
we
to
can
deliver.
Are
use
you
the word
saying a
compassion,
nurse
that's fine,
can't
but I-
understand the personal background, desires, hopes, and develop a friendly rapport with a patient?
I
You can
think you're
have like
making a
a friendly
distinction where there isn't
you
one.
can no it's a key, it's a crucial distinction. Having a friendly rapport with somebody is different than becoming personally emotionally invested in the outcome. You have to maintain an appropriate level of distance, whether you're a lawyer,
Right.
whether
And
you're a
I
medical
agree.
professional.
And sex crosses that line because of what sex just
But
intrinsically
many
is.
things cross that line. Like I just said, when you're a lawyer, you can't accept certain gifts. You can't get too close to your clients. They can't become like best friends to you. That's going to cause problems for you down the line. We take entire classes on this, on all the ways we're not supposed to get too close with our clients. And it's not all sexually. It's even just in friendship. So professionalism, the standard for professionalism, I agree, it's not professional to offer sexual services to somebody in a
that's
setting where that's
connected.
not appropriate. But there are other things that aren't appropriate either. It doesn't mean they're all bad and that you can't use them in a
So
different
I think, I mean, the point that you're making, though, is that sex is personal It can involve romance. It involves feelings. It involves this connectivity that you sometimes can't help but have. And that's our point.
Well, I have a question.
No, that's not your point.
That
That's
is part of
every-
a very
no, no.
important part of our
That's
point.
No, that's every single human's point. We all understand that. Everyone here agrees that a therapist.
You understand that, but you also think it's acceptable to have these sexual relationships with potentially thousands of people
You're
online
missing.
for
You're
sale.
not understanding. The whole point of your argument has to do with dual relationships. And you're trying to apply this to singular relationships. We all agree here that a therapist having sex with a patient would be bad, right?
Why?
Because it impacts
Don't.
their
What do you mean?
ability-
What?
Let's say the therapist is a
Well, a
sex
therapist
therapist.
should be.
A
should
sex
be-
therapist is obviously not the type of therapist.
But
I'm talking
why
about.
can't I
No,
hold
but
on,
that's the
gifts
thing.
for
A
my
sex
clients?
therapist,
Wait, hold on.
it's illegal for sex therapists to have sex with their own clients.
I don't.
They can talk to them
I'm
about
not even.
sex.
Hold on. I'm not even sure that's true. Hold on. Okay. Okay. I can't ask a question because I'm not going to get any engagement.
You
so
may
I'll just
ask-
make my
That's
point.
not true, Justin.
I'm not.
We're
It is a
engaging.
very simple question. Is can a therapist have sex with a patient? And then you're like, well, what about sex therapy?
No.
Well,
They
I
can-
think
they
Jasmine
cannot.
considers what she does a
Correct.
form
But
of
I'm
And they
saying
can't because
sex
it
therapy.
compromises your ability to give good
But
therapy.
what I am saying is that if sex is just a service that is provided, and it
no,
has
wait,
this.
we don't have to. I understand the next stage of argument. I'm trying to show why that's ridiculous. I understand it. You're going to say,
Well,
fine,
then
sex-
I will take it out of the dual role to the single role, and I'll give you
Wait,
a hypothetical.
Let's just explore this for 2 seconds, then we can go to whatever you're going to jump to, okay? A therapist cannot have sex with a patient because it compromises
Why
their
is that
ability
not
to deliver
connecting? That's-
good therapy.
Well, it
We
depends
agree
on
that.
their
All right, whatever.
relationship, right?
And
Stop.
no,
Stop.
that's
No.
not the only reason.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
It does.
It would also be equally inappropriate for a therapist to form a close friendship with and to go out and like have
Yeah,
drinks or
that was
meals
my
with a
point.
patient.
It's not the
but it
reason-
doesn't mean that drinks and dinner are super
bad.
inappropriate.
It's not just
and
that, because when a
ultra-special.
therapist has sex with a patient, Destiny, it's grape. Because the therapist has a power imbalance over the patient and can manipulate their emotions, and there are consent issues involved.
Sure, that's true as well. That's not what we're
That's the
focused
more
on here.
important reason.
Okay, we can pick a nurse and a
But
patient as well.
I think it must be said that a lot of people involved in creating pornography and prostitution consider what they do a form of therapy for the client.
That's
But
not at all what
there
we're
is a
talking about.
reason that the sexual revolution has coincided with us being more cognizant of things like consent, because the whole point of the sexual revolution and allowing people more freedom in how they want to express their sexuality is that it's a choice, but it's still your
I don't
choice, right?
want
That's why
that.
things like marital
So-
rape was outlawed in the 90s. We have the rape shield doctrine. You're not allowed to bring up a victim's past sexual history in a
Why
sexual
is that
assault
like
case.
that?
We
I
have the
think-
Me Too movement. So I don't think power
That must have
imbalances
been
are
formed
important
just now.
because that can get in the way of consent. So consent
Right.
is super important, but what
Right.
you choose to do is not. That's what the sexual. It's not an accident that those
Okay.
two things
There-
and
coincided.
Me Too is a reaction against the excesses of the sexual revolution. So, I mean, I think to
No,
say
I
that
don't
these
Me
things
Too
are
is a
given to us by
reaction
the sexual
to-
revolution is
Okay,
totally.
well, let me-
totally-
Wait, Me Too is a reaction of the sexual revolution? All right. I'll need a source on that too, actually. I'm gonna need a source probably on everything, if I'm being honest. I don't know why this is giving me such issues here. Sorry. Let me continue.
All right.
It is though.
All right,
Like
so-
marital
No,
rape,
no.
marital
Well,
rape
the early
being outlawed,
feminists-
rape
the early
shield.
feminists
You're
who
saying
were-
Me Too is a reaction to what?
Me Too is the reaction to the excesses of the sexual revolution.
I don't think
and,
so.
And a lot of the reform that was requested in the way that marriages took place and marital rape protection was early feminists who are not sexual revolutionaries, who themselves wanted family values, and many of them were pro-life.
But no,
So to say that it was the sexual revolutionaries that
I'm
gave us
saying
these
that
things is
those
not
two
correct.
things coincided at the same time, because the whole point of the sexual revolution was that, okay, you're not going to be ruined now because you choose to have casual sex, but if someone comes in, because there was a lot of inappropriate harassment, rape, etc., statute of limitations has been increased due to the Me Too movement. All of these things coincided because consent is a huge part of the sexual revolution.
And
I think that
And Me Too was a response to people seeing women as commodities that they can acquire, and seeing sex as
This
a
is
means
needlessly
of,
complicated. I'm just
of
gonna
acquiring that
build
commodity.
up
Basically,
around
it's
it.
responding to a dehumanizing view of sex. Now, I agree. Many people don't have that view, but I do think that the hedonistic view of sex does lead to that. But here's the question I wanted to ask, just to get back to what sex is for and why I think it shows that this view of sex is absurd. All right. Suppose you had a friend and they said, because this is parlaying on the idea that sex is just it's a hedonistic activity people can share with consent. Like, say, for example, like martial arts. So martial arts, if I go down
Nobody thinks sex is like that. But
No, hold on. Let me make the analogy.
Okay,
if I start martial arts with somebody without their consent, I'll go to jail because that's assault, right? If I just go up and punch somebody. But I can ask them, hey, do you want to spar with me a little bit?
Okay.
And then that's okay because we have consent and it's this kind of activity. Now, imagine that would it be healthy to have a friend who says, hey, I'm glad you and I are getting into martial arts together, but I really feel like we can only be friends if you only do martial arts with me. Or we can only be friends if you only do tennis with me. Or I want you to be my only friend. You're the only friend that I have. With those examples, would you say that those are disordered friendships?
Probably, yeah.
All right, so my next question would be, is it disordered for someone to say, I want you to be the only person I have sex with, you're the only person who has sex with me? Do you think that's disordered?
Not necessarily, no.
What's the difference between activities that are pleasurable and consensual, martial arts, chess, tennis, spending time together, and sex then? What is the difference between the two, that one is disordered, it's a friendship you should not get in, and the other we would say not even that it's not disordered, but it's the way things ought to be with
It might be the love of your life in a marriage.
What's the difference?
The difference is going to be the preference of the people that are partaking in these things. Some people might feel like they like to do martial arts with a lot of people, and for sexual activity, I think people tend to prefer to be more exclusive with that. There's probably other things we could think of that
is
people
that
tend
is
to
that
be,
natural? Or should we think like that's the way they ought to treat sex?
whether or not it's natural or not is a separate question.
Well, it seems obvious that if someone says, I want you to be my only friend and you can't have other friends, we'd say that's a friendship you probably shouldn't get into, right?
Generally, yeah.
Then why?
But
don't
like,
we,
if we're going to use like
why
the natural,
why don't we say the same thing then about I want you to be the only person I have sex with? In fact, we say that's a good.
So if we're
Hold
talking
on,
about
wait,
sex
because
work, if a subscriber told to me you're the only person I want you to, I'm the only person I want you to have, I would say no. That's not the context of this.
Yeah, because you're selling a
your
business and you
business.
can't have one customer.
Yes, but my point is that just because that's one way to see sex is like an intimate, monogamous thing, there are a lot of people who don't view it that way, who don't want to view it that way. And I'm wondering, back to my original question, where are these outcomes that are so detrimental to society that's happening because some people, people that want to be polyamorous are not getting in the way
Well,
of your
you don't
monogamy.
think that 20% of couples expressing unhappiness because of porn use in the relationship is a
20%
problem?
of couples? Where is that?
Yeah, this is a study from, and then also the statistic about the amount of people that are pornography use being listed as one of the reasons for divorce. You don't think that that's meaningful?
It could.
And that
There's
that
many
matters?
Nobody's saying it's not.
divorce, but I have a bunch of studies here.
Yeah, the thing is like that. Nobody's saying it's not meaningful. Which is like I don't think that. But it just shouldn't get in the way of those. Like there's plenty of reasons why people get divorced, but I think the main one is financially related. Like surely that would be a much larger issue at hand. Relative to porn consumption. Yeah.
That show that since, like I just told you, that porn actually can have a cathartic effect on violence. The STD rates come down. There's a huge study that shows that
bad?
AIDS or HIV could go down by 30 to 40% if we were to just decriminalize prostitution. So there is evidence going both ways when it comes to porn and sex work, and I don't see anything that's super conclusive that this is just a terrible harm, more than
That's
something
a study
like
from the
alcohol
Wheatley
would be.
Institute, by the way. About 20% of couples report a degree of conflict in their
Yeah,
relationship
and
due to
this-
pornography.
Can-
One
real
in
quick,
4
on-
men report hiding porn from their partner. One in 4 men.
Awesome. Okay.
Hiding it from their partner.
Probably because they're looking
And
at
you
that
might-
prostate electrostim porn, okay?
But I think the larger kind of the meta point here, and you were speaking to this earlier, Destiny, but then we kind of got, the conversation unraveled a bit. But you were saying about how we have all this technology, and so now we can treat sex recreationally. Did I understand you correctly?
I'm saying that it's allowed us to change the way we view sex, yes.
Okay, so my point is that even with the technology, the natural consequences and outcomes still find the way. Even if we can live in unreality for a short time with the technology.
Unreality.
You know, I'm just on OnlyFans for a moment. It's not going to hurt my relationship. I'm going to use a condom here, so I'm not going to get pregnant, whatever it is, right? Or I'm not going to get this girl pregnant, whatever it is. The consequences catch up. And when I brought up the Guttmacher Institute statistic, the reason it mattered is because half of the women who are getting abortions, according to the research arm of Planned Parenthood, the biggest abortion chain, report using contraception.
It's amazing to me that she can just jam pack so much talking points into one spiel. Like her saying, Planned Parenthood, the biggest abortion chain, by the way. Like, it's just crazy, man. Like, I mean, she is good at what she does in terms of being a propagandist, but like, Jesus.
In the month that they got pregnant. So they were using it, they thought they were doing the safe sex thing, and then they get pregnant and they show up for the abortion. So my point here is...
you keep bringing up the stat. Like,
yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if, for instance,
But
like
do you
70%
understand-
of people that die in car accidents are wearing seatbelts. That doesn't mean wearing a seatbelt is bad. It means that, like, if you're going to be in a car accident, you're probably in a car,
But
you're probably
if
wearing a
the-
seatbelt.
if
If you're getting
getting into
pregnant
the-
and having sex, you're probably drawing some
But
form of
if getting
contraception.
into the car is promiscuous sex, maybe we should consider not getting into the car so much.
Okay,
And I
I'm
think
just saying
that's
that
the
number
point
you're
that
giving,
Trent
when
and I are
that's saying, like,
Stupid.
people on
if
birth
getting
control.
into the car is going and sleeping with the prostitute, if getting into the car
Sure.
is
Here's a
hedonistic
question.
sex culture, then maybe
I just want
we
to ask you
should
about your study. You brought up a study.
question
I'm
the
not familiar with
cars.
this. You said that, what was that number that you quoted? You said
Which one?
50% of people said they were using birth control or whatever, and they got
Yes.
okay.
It's the
Did-
Guttmacher
The
Institute.
types of in that study for birth control, did they include natural family planning and pull-out method?
No, this is contraception, birth control pills, and condoms or barrier
Hold on,
methods.
pull-out method and natural family planning are both considered forms of contraception.
I mean, that's like a very small fraction of a percent of people who even use that anyways.
First of all,
But
that's
it's-
not true.
That is true.
Especially among Christians, natural family planning is considered one of the only ethical ways to do contraception, which you know.
No, this
Yeah,
is large.
right.
This is largely birth control pills and barrier method condoms or diaphragms or otherwise.
Okay, all right.
mean-
I'd be curious if that's true, but like even so,
It is true because we know there's a failure rate. There's a
there is
failure rate even with
There
sterilization.
is
They
a
just
failure
can't
rate,
let
but
a point
perfect use
go.
failure
It's
rate
crazy.
is like 1%.
If
Real
you're
world
having
use
a
failure
lot
rate
of
could be.
promiscuous,
So why
if
is
you're
there
having
way
regular
less-
promiscuous sex or
why-
regular sex even with one partner that you don't want to have a kid with, eventually there's going to be, for many there will be a failure.
For
So
men,
why
when you
are
know,
those-
hold on. For many, there won't be. It's a
Yes.
1% failure rate. That's the
Let's
opposite
say
of many.
is almost 1 million abortions a year enough?
No,
And by the way,
a million abortions a year from
and-
330 million
and-
people.
and
I don't
by-
know if that's enough.
Well,
Hold
and
on.
by
You're,
the way,
wait,
and
wait,
by
you're
the way,
so
one other-
easily.
can I
When
say
you
one
said
other point?
Many people
Destiny,
experience
one
failure
other
rates. That's
point.
not what
One
1%
other
means.
point.
1% is not many.
One other point, because I know that you think abortion typically is acceptable.
So the problem here is that she knows she's getting blown out, or rather that she just has so much to say, and like she knows that if she lets the opponent get a word in edgewise, that she's gonna look like a total dumb fuck. That's kind of what's happening right now.
Up to a certain point. There's over 10,000 abortions that happen after the marker where you think it's a human life.
Okay.
So is 10,000 abortions, 10,000 murders, you would consider it murder of children that are viable
There
in
it
this
is.
country a year? Is that worth the promiscuity of adults? 10.
I love how like the framing of this always has to come back to like come back to abortion, like everything, like again, like it's the same shit. Yeah.
1,000 murders
But you're
of children?
linking that to sex work and promiscuity. I don't.
Yeah, I'm
I don't see-
connecting
you just
all
said,
of it.
oh, it's affecting 20. Alcohol.
Everything I
is
don't
also,
like is
think
because
10%
of
divorces list,
prostitution
alcohol
and sex work.
Is alcohol bad now?
I think alcoholism is bad.
Alcoholism is bad,
Yeah.
but alcohol it doesn't have to be alcoholism. Do you think that's bad?
In moderation,
So porn,
yeah.
I agree. If you
Well, and I
have
think sex, but
problematic porn use is bad, but is porn bad and is sex bad? That's the
I
question.
think sex
What-
is
wait,
great.
what's-
I think porn is bad.
What is the Jasmine? What's the difference between porn use and problematic porn use?
Problematic porn use is where people personally identify, that's the medical term, with it being a problem in their lives, which is a very small, the only representative sample we have puts it at like 4%
Is
of
it
men.
possible for someone to use porn in a bad way if they don't personally feel anything bad about it?
What do you mean? Can you give me an example of how using porn in a bad way? In
A
that
husband
context would-
a husband looks at porn, talks to OnlyFans girls, masturbates to them, and his wife hates it, but he doesn't think it's a big deal, and it's really hurting their marriage.
Yeah,
and so
just like if he drinks alcohol too much and she doesn't think and she doesn't like it, but he still does it. That's bad. It's bad when people violate the boundaries.
Now,
of
let
their
me try another one
relationship.
then. Let's say, what if the wife
My
says,
gotcha didn't
you
work, so let
talking
me
to
try a
any
different
woman
one.
on the face of the earth hurts me and makes me upset? Would you say that wife has an inappropriate boundary?
No, because there's a lot of people that are like that, and they literally don't.
That her husband cannot talk to any woman, even like a female secretary, she's so hyper jealous.
My family is from the Middle East. This is literally how they set up society.
Do you think that's good?
I don't think that's good, but if there are people who that's the way that they're happy, I don't think that's good. I think the way you guys live your life is great. You guys don't think the way I live my life is great. The point is that when we allow people to do what's conducive to their own happiness, that's...
But what I'm asking you is that can a spouse have boundary expectations that are reasonable and unreasonable?
I think if we're going to use like a reasonable person standard,
like, what a ridiculous fucking question to ask. Obviously, the answer is yes.
that depends on like the community. Sure, in certain communities, that's, and in your community, porn is bad.
I'm just talking about the community. This community out here, who is non-disclosed location, would be listening in on this. That an unreasonable boundary would be a girlfriend says, my boyfriend can't talk to any other women. That would be unreasonable. And a reasonable one would be, my boyfriend should not be going around looking at other naked women.
That's fine, but still, like, you guys also think like masturbation in general.
No, you got not your. What do you mean by you guys?
Well, like, I've watched your video. You said masturbation just in general is wrong. I don't think that our community standard would agree with you. I would agree that maybe I'm farther this way, but you're definitely nowhere near where the reasonable person.
I think I bite the bullet. There are definitely boundaries that are like pathological that are not okay, and there are probably some that are okay.
We're not debating whether our sexual ethic is good or bad. We're debating whether your sexual ethic is bad.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm wondering where you're seeing these. If the only thing you have is that 20% of marriages have an issue with this, 20% marriages have issues with substances and etc. Are those things bad? You said alcoholism is a leading factor. I think problematic porn use is also bad. You should go get help from that. Yes, and divorce rates have not gone up since the proliferation of porn.
But the point is that porn is a prominent factor in divorce.
So is substance abuse. So is alcohol.
But you would say substance abuse is bad. So why are you saying porn is good?
I think
wait. Because substance abuse. Wait. You're saying substance abuse is bad. Therefore, why isn't porn bad?
That's really
that's not what I said.
Hold on. That is literally what you just said. You said why would substance abuse be bad?
But in the context of why people get divorced, Destiny, is what we were speaking to.
Yes. No. But people don't get divorced because of substances. They get divorced because of
behaviors.
Substance abuse.
Well, and
but you're saying they get divorced because of porn. Why not porn abuse?
Yeah. What's my question? Problematic porn. If it's getting in the way of your life, it's bad. But there are most of the people that consume porn, which is the majority of people, it's not getting in the way of their life. It's not getting in the way.
Because we can delineate. We can say, oh, when you drink this much alcohol, it makes you sleepy or giggly or fall down drunk or wrecks your liver. Like, we can talk about the different effects at the different levels and what they do and whether it makes sense for a wife to tolerate or a spouse to tolerate or not tolerate. But when it comes to porn, I think it's very fair for a spouse to say, yeah, I'm not going to tolerate my spouse giving orgasm or giving that sexual desire to someone else. My biggest problem with the view you guys are defending is that you lose any principled basis to say things like infidelity or even you can't even define what extreme sexual behavior is as long as it's consensual.
Well,
hold on, wait. You can absolutely have all of these discussions. Just because you say, I think that my partner can watch porn, you're saying you can't have any more sexual boundaries if you grant that? Because I could explore your lives and find a million different things. Do you think your partner should be allowed to eat? Well, yeah, of course. Should they be allowed to have dinner with a member of the opposite sex alone at a restaurant? Maybe not. Some people wouldn't be necessarily comfortable with that. Just because you allow some things doesn't mean that you've eliminated every single thing in that bracket.
No, this goes back to my previous argument in saying about what boundaries are reasonable or unreasonable.
Yep.
If sex is just another activity like other activities, then it becomes unreasonable to demand exclusivity for it.
Literally, nobody here is saying that sex is just another activity. You seem to have.
Then what is it?
Sure. There are some activities that can serve a variety of different purposes. Okay, for sex, it could be recreational, or it could be an incredibly emotional, romantic, bond-building thing. Yeah. Much the same that we could imagine, as I just brought up. Dinner could be whatever. I've gone out to dinner with a ton of people. Right. It's whatever. But dinner can also be an incredibly romantic, personal event. Some of these things, even some people could set boundaries around, and everybody would say that's fair. If you say, oh, I went out to eat with like 3 or 4 friends last night. Samantha was there. Oh, that's cool. That hits a lot differently than if you say, oh, I went out to eat last night with Samantha. We went to Ruth's Chris. We had like a $200 dinner and wine. That doesn't feel welfare. That feels like cheating. A lot of people would say that's not okay. You've actually like cheated on your partner because you took another woman out on a date. So I don't agree with this idea that just because you're saying sex can be used like romantically, that's the only way you can treat it. And as soon as you've used it even a little bit on this recreational side, you've lost all ability to have romantic utilization of it, because you wouldn't apply that same standard to literally any other activity in the world.
Because sex is not like any other activity in the world.
I didn't say.
Yeah,
wait. What do you mean it's not like any other activity?
It isn't.
Like-
Sex is something that's unique because it has the ability to create new people. It is.
Yeah, but the thing is like with sex, there are definitely methods for which you could mitigate the likelihood of procreation. If a woman is on birth control, that's a very effective way of preventing pregnancy. Condoms, they're not as effective as birth control, but that is another method. Same with anti-spermicides or there's probably a million different contraception things out there. But like, I guess that's fine if they want to say it's not like any other activity in the sense that like it can actually create life. That would be a true statement. However, we're kind of ignoring the fact that there are methods for which you can use to prevent, pregnancy in the first place, right?
Designed to bring people together in a close, intimate bond that no other natural activity is created towards. And because it has those propensities, we have moral norms around it. And that in order to have prostitution and pornography, you have to say, well, those moral norms are just what puritanical people come up with. It's not intrinsic to the activity itself.
Sex can be utilized for other things. For instance, when you masturbate, you're not procreating, and masturbation is about as natural as it gets. Plenty of people learn to touch themselves at incredibly early ages. It's like a natural part of human development.
But it is not natural, the state that we're in now, where people can masturbate to a nearly an unending supply.
Wait. I would
like to finish, please.
Okay, it's not relevant to what I just said, but I'll bring it back.
It absolutely is relevant because we're talking about whether this is bad for society.
No, we're not. We were talking about if it was natural.
Whether what's natural.
You're saying that sex is made for procreation and blah, blah. First of all, ignore the fact that a designed process, well, we could fight over that, but that's going to get into religion. But I'm telling you that there are forms of natural sexual exploration, like masturbation, as you're growing up, that obviously don't produce children and aren't designed for that.
I didn't say sex is for procreation. That's not my answer to the question what sex is for. But I'm getting back that even if someone didn't have a complete answer to what sex is for, they wouldn't say, oh, well, it's like dinner, it's like other activities where there's just a multiplicity of meanings. There's no correct meaning to it. People have a lot of different meanings to it. I think a lot of people would end up rejecting that.
Wait, rejected how? When casual sex is so prevalent, what do you mean a lot of people would reject that?
A lot of people will reject that when you talk about what is it for, like especially when you're in the context of a relationship.
Well, yeah, in a context of a relationship, it changes, of course.
And the biggest, the most telling thing here, in my opinion, is all the social media
amount of
shows, the vast majority of it shows that these problems arise when there's when there's a moral issue with it, right? Because alcohol, like you said, there is a link. They have linked the amount you drink with the probability of it leading to problems. With porn, there is no link. There's no study that can link the amount you watch with having problems with it in your social life and even
not true.
That's
First,
not true.
There are studies done by Nicole Prouse, who is a pro-porn advocate, in 2013 that shows there's lesser reactivity in the brain to people who frequently use porn to be able to have attachment to spouses or significant others. Kuhn et al. In 2014 and other further studies in 2015 were the first to use magnetic resonant imagery to show the actual changes that take place in the brain when people frequently use pornography. It changes the brain and raises the dopamine ceiling so that in order to receive sexual arousal, you need more and more extreme and even violent forms of pornography.
This is just an insane misreading of that study in all likelihood. I bet you that assuming that the study is like as he describes it, I think that he's loading on morally a lot of shit here by saying like you need more extreme forms of porn and this manifests into social ills in this way and that way, blah blah blah. Like it just really feels like the weaponization of a study that is probably a lot more unbiased than he's portraying it. I don't know the study he's referring to, but yeah, that's just my guess.
in order to reach that. That's why you have things that now people are seeking out, not just sex, they're seeking out incest pornography, they're seeking out bestiality, they're seeking out group sex, rape play, and
So-
that is bad when society falls more into that pattern.
The whole point of that Nicole Proust study, which I have here, is it's the exact opposite of what you'd expect to see going on in the brain of someone with an addiction. This is her words. The findings suggest self-proclaimed porn addicts don't quite have the same relationship with porn as someone that's with substance addiction. So yeah, she has done a lot of work.
No,
I'm a big fan of her. That shows that it's
Yeah.
not a real addiction,
Okay.
and a lot of it. She was
Yeah, I
also
agree.
in this big study that found, this is the quote, moral incongruence around pornography use is consistently the best predictor of the belief that one is experiencing pornography-related problems or dysregulation. It seems to be, unlike alcohol, unlike substances, that it has a lot to do with how you feel about it. And I can just give you anecdotal experience from talking to so many people on my OnlyFans. My European fans, those cultures where it's not like sex isn't seen as such a like terrible thing, the way they interact with me is like, hey, how are you? Can I get this video? And they're like, okay, cool. The people who have this moral incongruence, their behavior is super erratic. They come, they go, then they delete everything, then they come back. Sometimes they send you a Bible verse. Like, these people are really struggling.
But then there are
Right.
people who consistently ask for more and more kinds of frankly
Yeah, some of them
bizarre-
are
So
out
Nicole
there.
Proust talked about this study. I think it was in Croatia, where there's actually evidence that they do it in the beginning, and then they eventually, the study they done showed that over time they go back to the vanilla stuff. And she was attributing it more to people being like, "Oh, this is kind of weird. Like, let me click on this," and then over time being like, "Okay, I'm over
Right.
it." It's like kind of like
Yeah.
a shock factor thing. That's what she found, and that's what she talked about.
And I would say there was a 2016 study by Wright
I would
et al.
say
that did
that
a
there's a
meta-analysis.
study.
The other thing I'm concerned about is it raises the dopamine ceiling. And this was a study that was done across 22 countries showing an increase in the level of aggression in men who view pornography versus those who don't. And I think that makes sense when you look at the most popular forms of pornography involving things like domination, subjugation of women, using verbal abuse, gagging, asphyxiation,
What the
and a lot
fuck?
of other things. Like I said earlier about the increase in things like incest and incest role play.
Real quick, just on two
Wait,
questions.
by
So
the
first
way,
of all,
hold on. I gotta say that, like, I think incest, although it is probably a popular search term, I just really am not buying the fact that it is, like, indicative of something really bad. Because I'm sure many people are under the presumption that incest porn is conducted by actors? I'm pretty sure most people, maybe I'm wrong, but like I think most people would understand that, yeah. Because they're not actually like, related. It's acting.
when you say an MRI shows changes in the brain responding to dopamine levels of people that continue to use porn, this is true of probably literally every single stimulating activity, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like so that's not unique to porn. That would be the same in playing
Potato
cards.
chips.
That'd be the same in eating potato chips. It'd be the same in playing video games. It'd be the same in watching movies or TikToks or whatever. So I don't know what that's supposed to prove. Secondly, just so I can understand this too.
It's in the relation of what you find to be sexually arousing. That people who continue to use porn and use porn more frequently need more and more varied or disturbing or intense
What are the-
pornography.
They have a higher
in
threshold.
the
Sure.
same way that an alcoholic needs more potent alcohol to feel a buzz than when they first started drinking.
Okay, those two things are completely dissimilar.
then
wait,
even
wait, hold on, wait. I'm sorry. Real quick. Okay, I hear this brought up so many times, and I'm curious if there's an actual number on this. I've heard this said over and over and over and over and over again. People who consume porn need to dramatically increase the extremeness of the porn they're consuming. What is the percentage of those people that happens with? Because I've heard that said over and over again. Is that actually true, or is that just like something we say and we take
Well,
it for
I think the
granted?
proliferation of, even what we were talking about.
Nope, that's not an answer. I'm
Yes,
asking
Yes,
very-
it is an answer, even if you
It
don't
is an
like it. The
answer,
fact that
Destiny.
when you look at Pornhub's most searched terms
Yep.
over the past 10 years and see that it's extreme things, which, by the way, your view can't tell me what's extreme
Your view
or not.
can't.
Okay,
when
the
it comes to
2022,
pornography.
the searches that define 22 were
Okay,
reality,
here's the thing.
gender-
Ready? Now I'm not. I guess I'm speaking on behalf of them, but like what I would constitute as like extreme would probably be like pedophilia. Anything that tries to portray. Well, I don't even know. Honestly, I don't know actually. I think that could be probably a good answer there. Because the portrayal of pedophilia in porn certainly is not appropriate under any circumstance. Like when they pretend that they're like younger people or whatever. Yeah, that's pretty obviously fucked up. BDSM, I think it's popular. I'm not sure if I would say it's extreme. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think off the top of my head, probably like pedophilia stuff. Yeah.
Group
Would be
sex,
extreme.
outdoors,
Those are those
positions, feet, and femdom. These are our top 7 like types of searches.
So
Not on
do you think it's
Pornhub.
extreme? People
This
get
is from
people
Pornhub,
get, do you
published
think
by
it's
Pornhub for
first,
2022, yeah.
though that's not the complete search list. Those
The-
are highlights that were put up there. You have to scroll down more to get the full
Teen-
list.
No, you said the top. I'm asking what are the top ones.
Those
These are
were the
top ones.
highlights that they put in that graphic. I know the page you're looking at.
Oh, so you're saying that if I go to look for the most common searches, it's not those?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. my bad.
Teen
All right.
and
Yeah, scroll down more.
stepmom or step sibling.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're
Stepbrother,
right. So the most
stepsister.
search terms were hentai, Japanese, oh no, MILF, which is the opposite of teen, lesbian.
Teen mysteriously disappeared after 2020 when at the same time Pornhub was when Pornhub was being investigated for having child sexual assault materials and credit card companies were refusing to work with them. If you go back and look at it from 2012 to
why are we acting as though that this was the prevalent thing? Like this is like a ubiquitous thing on the platform. Certainly that can't be the case. Maybe I'm wrong though. I could be wrong. Like I think most of these porn sites are like conducted by sex workers. Because I think like a lot of them also use like different platforms, like maybe like OnlyFans and other social media platforms like Twitter or Reddit or whatever. Like I think like they also use that to like, you know, get their to I guess advertise or whatever. Yeah.
2019, teen is one of the most common categories searched for. It mysteriously disappears though after they have trouble with these credit
Wait.
cards.
What do you mean
Is it
mysteriously?
disappear, or did they just eliminate the category to try to stay on the safe side of like all the?
Well, now they've realized I don't know what they've done, but they have seemed to have kept certain terms from being searched for, but other people go and search for them. And then of course there's other
certain
sites beyond
terms.
Pornhub. There's
Sure, there are.
Xhamster.
Okay, but
So-
I think we would consider this a
But-
good
but
thing.
you
This is
look-
like a
you
form of
look-
like regulation working, right? If we think that like people searching for teen porn
and
is
even the
bad,
ones you've put there, would you say hentai is a more extreme version of pornography?
depends on what you're looking for.
Would you say it's more extreme? Do you think it's more extreme
Probably not.
to be aroused by watching someone be penetrated by tentacles?
Well, not all hentai porn is tentacle porn.
Shopify helps you sell at every stage of your business. Like that, let's put it online and see what happens stage.
Sorry.
And the site is live.
That
I guess
we
I'll
opened a
just-
store
yeah.
and need a fast checkout stage.
Thanks. You're all set.
That count it up and ship it around the globe stage.
This one's going to Thailand.
And that
There's lots of different types of hentai.
But that's a common element of it.
I
think
don't
that-
know if
I
that's
mean,
true or not. Wait.
Dude, he's like it's so crazy because you can tell that the wheels are spinning. He's like he wants his point to be made so much that he's like saying like well hentai's extreme. Well, is it? And then it's like, well, do you think getting penetrated by tentacles is extreme? So like, well yeah, but I don't think that's a lot of hentai. He's like, well, it's a big theme of it. Like moving and shifting all the time to get to his point. Yeah, it's just
I want to circle back. Wait. I want to circle back to this question. Nobody answered this. I want to know, do we know, because I've heard this said over and over and over again, that people that start searching for pornography are going to gravitate towards more extreme versions. I'm curious, what are the percentage of people that start on the pornography road that end up at more
Well,
extreme?
Jasmine was using anecdotal example of her clients.
Okay, gotcha.
And
You can go on from that. I just want to be clear then that this is repeated over and over again. We have no number on that. There's no data. That's just something that's said over and over again.
I literally just told you what people tend to search for on the internet, and it's not like loving couple has sex.
So
and child sexual assault material is proliferating.
Yep,
here
we're
also.
talking around it. I
but
had a very clear question. I was curious how many people start with vanilla porn and move on. I'm looking
I
for
don't
a
think we have
number
the exact
between
stats
one.
Probably
on that,
100% because they start when they're 11 years old, and they probably see boobs, naked people, sex, and then it quickly moves on from there based on these common
Based
search
off
terms
no
you see
evidence
what's
whatsoever.
100% of people move on to hardcore.
No, I'm sure not 100%. I'm sure some 11-year-old finds hentai and then they're really in for bad shit.
Because of the work I do in speaking with young
So it's
women, and the
150%,
New York
yeah.
Times and others have done investigative reports on this, what young girls are reporting about sexual encounters that they have with other young boys, and the extreme and often very disrespectful things that the young boys expect the young girls to do because of the pornography that they're exposed to on the internet. So I think It's living in unreality for you both to sit there
That's
and say,
great. Well, hold on,
okay,
wait, you
let
can
me
answer-
finish. Please let me
Okay,
finish.
yeah.
I think it's living in unreality for you both to sit there and say, porn is harmless.
Unreality.
It's great. Yeah, there's some bad stuff, but it has nothing to do with porn and everything's fine. When the reality is of your average
Wait,
young
this is
girl.
obviously a straw man because they never said that all porn is fine. Everything is fine. There are obviously they never made that claim per se. This is just projection, obviously.
And your average young guy today, boy today, who's looking at porn on the internet is being exposed to rape porn, is being exposed to sexual assault porn, is being exposed to child sexual assault material, and a lot of young girls are reporting, and yes, we don't have the exact statistic on it because it's hard to know this.
It's not just the niche. In 2021, Bella Delphine, one of the most...
No, wait. She just said a whole thing. Do we get to respond?
Fine.
Well, the last thing I was just going to say is these young girls
She's doing kidnap role play. It's pretty common.
I mean, thank you. That's a good point. I mean, even this is a very prominent
Dressed
porn,
as a child.
I mean,
a very prominent porn creator who's doing what Trent just said. But these young girls are reporting that they are being asked to do very degrading, demeaning things that are scary for them. It's
How do you
even
know
on
it's
this
scary
podcast,
for
I said
them?
this on this
Okay,
show.
wait, you're just repeating your point. Okay, let's
and
respond.
you were saying how the guy
Yeah,
wants
she just
to do these
wait.
aggressive,
So like this is the
violent
problem,
things.
okay? Like when we're in these conversations, it becomes evident that they don't know what they're talking about, or they don't feel like they feel insecure about the points that they're making. So they'll just repeat over and over and over again the same shit over and over and over again, right? It's actually a common rhetorical strategy. Yeah. Like, if you're so insecure about your own shit, then just don't, like, talk, right? Or at least do a little more reading on it. Like, it's, like, so obvious that they're just, yeah, now we're just, like, engaging in, like, stupid shit at this point.
With her and she's uncomfortable.
Okay.
This is pervasive. And you
Gotcha.
can pretend it's not happening, but it is.
That's
Nobody's...
fine. Okay, but
okay.
it's like that we can argue that there might be negative sexual behaviors that might be being picked up from porn, which is fine. If you've got numbers on that, I'd be interested. However,
You don't think that's happening, Destiny?
I do think it's happening, but
Okay.
we don't.
I'm glad we can agree that
A lot of,
sex
but
work
the
has
problem
led
is
to
a lot
that.
of women push for it too. So it's hard
It doesn't
to know.
matter who pushes for it. It has led to that. Is the point?
It doesn't.
Is
Wait,
that
no, wait, but we
bad?
don't know if it's led to it though, right? It could have been. There could be these desires that also weren't being expressed or being expressed in other ways before. For
So
instance,
you're saying-
things like I can tell you what I'm saying. You don't have to say you're saying. I can just tell you what I'm saying, right? Things like, for instance, sexual behavior at the workplace is inappropriate towards women. That's something that's been a pastime in workplaces for a long time. Men treating women in sexually aggressive ways at workplaces that had nothing to do with pornography. Things like spousal rape or marital rape. These are things that have existed for a long time that weren't encouraged by or made for pornography.
So you're
If you want to play
saying-
history anecdotes, you can look at all of the conquests of
Oh my
cities
God,
where
that's
the
so
exact
funny.
Destiny,
women are
is it
raped.
your argument that the 11-year-old who's exposed to pornography and finds themselves suddenly looking at sexually very explicit sexual assault material, pornography, that when they then may try to act out aspects of it with a girlfriend their first time in real life, that's a result not of the porn, but
I
they
don't
would have
think
done
this
that.
is happening.
Yeah, I don't
No,
think
no, let's.
I don't think an
I
11-year-old. I don't think an
Shit.
11-year-old's first porn video is
That's
like
not what I
Bukake
said,
Throat
Destiny.
Fucker 69,
that's not
and then
what
he
I
takes his
said.
12-year-old girlfriend. Okay,
How do
can
you know that?
You're misrepresenting what I said.
How
I
do you
said
know
that
that?
You
the
don't know that.
11-year-old who's exposed to porn and gets hooked and starts to look for more and runs into, because it's everywhere, sexual assault material type porn, torture type porn, maybe child sexual assault
This
material
is
porn.
just not
that-
common. When will they shut the fuck up about this? Like, Jesus Christ. This is like on the fringes of like Pornhub and RedTube or whatever. Like, this is not a fucking common thing, dude. Oh my God. And if somebody wants to look at that shit, then, I mean, God bless, I guess. As long as they don't do it in real life.
That kid, then if they act out some element of that in a real life sexual relationship with a young girl,
What is the likelihood of that
argument
happening,
is that,
though, to be
well,
fair?
they would have done that anyways, even without the porn?
No, my
Is that your
argument is
argument?
if you think that's happening, because
It is
I'm
happening.
34 and I've grown
On a
up
wide
hearing
scale,
all
though,
the same
'cause-
arguments from Jack Thompson about video games. That you think
Oh,
a boy's
shit.
gonna play a game and take a chainsaw to a guy's face and saw it open, and he's not gonna go and bully his friends or kill somebody at school. You don't think these schools are? I've heard all these arguments. If you think it's happening, that's fine. You've given me a plausible scenario where it could. then show it in the data. Then show it in the
Well,
data.
I can
How many
pull up that- I can
11-year-olds
pull
are
up the-
choking their 12-year-old girlfriends
I can pull
because
up the New York Times report on this.
Well,
okay,
no,
and the New York Times
also-
report is
it's
going to say
also-
that like this percentage of
Exactly.
11-year-old students are choking their
Yeah.
girlfriends.
No,
But
and
we don't-
also
but the point, I don't think we need to come here and say we know the exact.
No. You need to present an argument. You're presenting a positive argument. You're saying that 11-year-old boys.
Destiny.
Hold on, let me restate your argument. You're saying 11-year-old boys are finding extreme porn and they're acting that with their girlfriends.
No,
that's
even-
if that's happening, that's pretty bad.
Destiny.
Do you have any evidence? of
Even
something?
if they're not acting it out with their girlfriend, is it pretty bad?
Is it pretty bad if somebody
Is it
views
pretty
something?
bad?
Well,
I don't know the
I have a
answer to that. We'd have to.
question.
That's
Is it-
something that
so
you would
do you
research.
think it's
A lot
okay
of-
for an 11-year-old boy to suddenly start looking at rape?
Probably not. Do you think it's okay for an 11-year-old boy to hear his
Obviously
parents
not.
having
What the
sex? Do you think it's okay for an 11-year-old boy to see somebody naked
So-
at a beach?
so you
Do you
think
think
those are
No,
the
no, no.
same?
Wait, answer that. Answer those questions. Do you think it's okay for an
you're trying
11-year-old
to
boy?
use them as comparisons.
Do
and
you
I'm
think
saying
that an
they're not the
11-year-old
same.
boy? I didn't
They're
say
not
they were the
same,
same. That's why it's a
Destiny.
comparison. If it's a comparison, it wouldn't be two different things. I'd be
They're-
comparing. It would just be me saying the same
But
thing twice.
they're not a meaningful comparison because
I didn't. Well,
there's-
let's find out if
there's-
it's a meaningful
there's key
comparison. That's what I'm
differences.
asking you. Can you tell me, is it appropriate for an 11-year-old boy to hear his parents having sex?
No.
I think that's inappropriate, but it is
Okay. Do you think it's
dramatically more scarring to walk in and see a rape happen.
Scarring.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And
then
problematic.
Then give me
For
the
them
study.
to-
Show me
for
the
them to
data.
consume
So
a
there's
rape
11-year-olds that
for
are
the sake of
traumatized or
orgasm
scarred.
or
Okay.
masturbation.
Then show
No,
me.
no,
So
I,
it's
we,
also
we don't have. We don't have to.
overwhelmingly women
We
that
don't
are
have
seeking
to
out
show
this kind of
you
stuff. So if
the
there's a
claims.
woman
We
who's
back
13,
up our
I
claims.
was one of these, and I was like, ooh, choking kind of hot. And then when I got a boyfriend, I was like, I want to try out
Wait,
choking, and we both agreed that this is what we want to do. How is that harmful?
Are you saying that it's not bad for a 13-year-old girl to seek out choking porn?
Oh my god. What? It's like they're being dense on purpose. Like we're at a point in the conversation, they just don't give a fuck.
I don't think it's bad. I think if that's what
So
you're
then,
into.
so you think maybe it's a good thing to show
and
that
I
to
also
her?
want to say, where is
No,
the
wait,
harm?
whoa, wait, hold on. That's a totally different fucking claim to make. Saying something isn't bad isn't the same as saying that thing is good. That's a completely different claim. It could be. It could very well be the case that it's neutral or that it's terrible or something. Yeah, like it's like they're doing their best to like misrepresent and misunderstand. Yeah.
Repeat this. It's not bad for a 13-year-old girl to seek out porn where women are choked as part of
I
sexual
don't
violence.
think it's wrong for girls when they're exploring their sexuality and they do that through porn. If they like being dominated, like I'm one of these
Is
girls,
it-
to see that represented
Would it be wrong
in
for
porn.
an adult to show a 13-year-old girl that?
Yes, but that's different. It's different because there's an imbalance thing. You're not supposed to show children this, but if a child, like when I was 13,
How about
14,
a 16-year-old boyfriend shows it to her?
Wait, a 16-year-old boyfriend showing a 13-year-old girl like rape porn or something? What are we talking about? Like, what the fuck? What are we doing? What is the point we're trying to end up at? Because obviously this is an attempt by Trent here to make his fucking TikTok shorts or whatever, dunking on lubes, like compilation 400, whatever. Like, this is so stupid, dude. Like, they're not interested in the conversation, obviously. Like, this is so stupid.
As if he's like, hey, are you into this? I don't think that's bad either.
Wait, 16-year-old boyfriend with 16-year-old girlfriend or 16-year-old boyfriend with 13-year-old girlfriend?
Yeah, that's
with a 13-year-old girl.
Oh, well, that's different. It's 3 years. 3 years is
15.
typically. If it's within the before it becomes
Typically.
statutory rape, when they're not even supposed to be having sex. If it's 16 and 13, in most states they're not even supposed to
Is
be
it
having
bad
For
sex.
to rape
16 and
somebody?
14, I know that the Romeo and Juliet laws
Yeah, so
differ in
15
every
and
case.
16 or 13 and 14, whatever you want to say. If it's two people of the same age and they're just exploring what each other likes and there's consent and both people are comfortable with it and it turns them on, it's okay for them to explore.
Wait, now let's go back then. So it sounds like what you're saying is, so fine, 13. How about a 10-year-old girl is looking up this stuff?
I mean, that's really young, but I think that's still part of like normal exploration. I agree. I wish this wasn't available to children.
Are children harmed when
This
they
is
see
so
pornography?
obviously for his TikTok. Like, it's just so frustrating because, like, to me, like, when you're at a point that, like, they don't give a shit about the conversation at all. It's a complete waste of your oxygen to even engage with them at this point because, like, they quite obviously don't care about what you're saying. They're doing this for dunks. Like, what a waste of time, dude.
Well, the research on that is kind of mixed. I actually have a couple.
So
studies.
your answer is I don't know.
The answer is that there's research going in both ways, and it's not just me that.
So
does
if the
it now.
research, so let me ask this: so if the research goes both ways and we don't know, should it be a crime? Should it be a crime then to show children pornography?
Yeah, I think children.
Isn't it
yes, but
already
we're
a
not talking
crime?
about.
Well, but why?
It's
Because
also a
you're
crime to
saying
give-
we don't. You're saying we don't even
But
know if it
it's
causes
also a crime
harm.
to give children alcohol. Is alcohol bad? And the other thing I wanted to point out
can be
is
very
that
bad
you're
for
talking about the
children.
link
No,
to sexual.
here's why it's a crime to give children alcohol. that children cannot consent to activities that are capable of gravely damaging them or even damaging them at all. Like kids have to have their parents sign them up for sports teams. They can't just sign up on their own. So it seems like then that we'd have to agree that if porn doesn't damage kids, then they don't need parents, they don't need consent, and they don't need a law to protect them, right? If it doesn't damage them.
I think that it's really mixed on if it damages or doesn't. So to err on the safe side with children, I'm okay with. I wish we could keep it away from children, but we can't.
Can I? Okay, let me.
So by
wanted
that
to
logic, then people there's differing opinions about whether childhood football damages children too much or not. So by that logic, we should treat childhood football teams as being as wrong and necessary to outlaw as showing porn.
See, this
to
is
children.
obviously a gotcha. This is so obviously a gotcha. Like, they're not even like trying to conceal it. So you're saying porn's bad. That means that this is the same exact thing as we can say for football. Like, it's like so obviously yeah. They don't care about the truth or this conversation anymore. They just care about don'ts.
What? Okay, wait. Here's a question.
Which doesn't make any sense.
What damages the child?
Yeah,
yes, that's my question.
No, that's my question to you now.
Well, you're the ones promoting sex work and pornography.
So sure. So I'm asking where
question?
you draw the line, because you're saying that it's clearly not. You're saying that porn is clearly over the line, despite the fact that you presented absolutely zero data to support that point.
What
so
point?
You're giving that a
That's not
child
true.
being exposed to pornography when they're 11 or 12 or 13 or whatever are having all these negative outcomes. I don't think you provided a single stat for any of that, or a single point for any of that, other than it feels wrong.
I mean,
which is fine. It can feel wrong.
All right, wait. I did provide that. I mentioned the 2016 Wright et al. study with the 22 countries, 22
That
studies.
was of children?
Sorry.
That sounded of all people.
It's talking about children, young people, and rise of aggression and use of pornography. That's 22 studies across 7 countries. There are other studies that we can put forward.
Okay, so there's
But even beyond the studies, it's just an obvious.
Okay,
Stop.
I don't like
I would like to
obvious.
finish, and I would love to hear your response. It just seems obvious to me that if a 12-year-old boy has access to Pornhub and can freely search it, it won't take him long to find what we consider extreme pornography.
And if he finds extreme pornography, what are those outcomes? So you talked about sexual aggression. There's a
I love
meta-analysis
my
from the
classic
1970s to
appeal
2020
to common
that shows
sense.
Some show that there is, some show that there's not, but the studies that were done over a longer period, the link was weakened. It's also been found the studies that employed higher level of best practices tended to provide less evidence of a potential
Well, there's
link.
a meta-analysis.
Biggest predictors for sexual aggression, number one, alcohol. So
There's-
again, is because alcohol seems to be actually showing us more conclusive harm in all of these respects. Is alcohol harmful? Is it bad?
There's a meta, I mean, in excess it is, absolutely. There's a meta-analysis that Trent and I have both
Well,
referenced that say that porn is connected to aggression, including
But you're right,
in young
and that's
people.
why,
Porn uses
for
is
example, with
connected.
alcohol, what we do is we have very stringent barriers to make sure to try to keep minors away from alcohol.
If you watch
even though
porn,
they do
you're
that. So, for
literally Ted
example,
Bundy.
would you agree we ought to have very stringent barriers to keep children away from pornography? For example, all pornographic websites should require age verification.
I think that the problem is that practically speaking, the ones that are going to implement that are going to be the bigger ones, but it's the internet. You can't control the internet. So what's going to happen is those sketchy sites in Russia are going to be the
Why don't we just have a rule that all pornographic websites have to have a XXX domain, and then we can put them in one area that requires age verification? How about that?
If there was a way that we could actually make
He doesn't
it so
actually
that
care about their
you had to
answers,
verify
by the
your
way.
age to be on these, then that it wouldn't lead to just moving people over to sketchier places where they can still access, because I don't know if you know, the internet's pretty easy to find like crazy shit. You don't, and even if you go, especially the sketchier.
What's worse on the sketchier stuff?
What do you mean what's worse?
You're saying you're worried that if you use age verification to keep a kid off Pornhub, he'll go to a sketchier
So the
website.
sketchier stuff, so for instance, places like Pornhub
like dark
right
web
now,
shit or
they have
something? I don't
gotten
know.
way stricter with the type of content you can put out. You can't put out, like, if you search rape on Pornhub, nothing comes up. But if you go to like some of these sketchier ones, they do come up. So your issue is more.
Can you do step sibling incest?
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily like, okay,
That's
if
not
someone
as
views
bad
step
as
sibling
rape.
incest,
Come on,
what are they doing? What are they doing with that that's so harmful to
Is step
society?
sibling incest bad?
Step sibling, watching sibling incest.
No, I'm just
porn,
saying, is the act of step sibling incest bad?
I wouldn't say it's 100% bad. And
No, there's a major difference between incest with their step sibling versus incest with someone who's like blood related, because like the former is like you could potentially have like genetic defects with like a child or be in a more precarious situation, whereas with a step sibling that's not the case. So yeah, So in that sense, it's a little worse. But I mean, it's still like really like whatever, you know.
And I want to know, if you're saying it's bad, why? Where are the outcomes? Because I'm looking at
Because family
outcomes
members
here.
shouldn't have sex with each other. That seems
I'm
pretty
looking at
obvious.
outcomes here. So I'm saying if
Wait,
people
there's steps. Yeah, they're family members, but like you're ignoring a very important key factor into why incest in general is frowned upon.
watching this more aggressive
Because
porn,
if you have two
where
kids,
is that? Where is that?
Come on,
Because
if you have
I
two
don't need a
kids-
study to know that
Maybe-
I shouldn't have sex with my
oh,
sister, whether
for
she's
fooling.
Is it-
by
is
law or
watching
blood
it, but
or
is,
brother.
Is
I
watching
don't
it
need
make
that.
is watching it increasing step sibling incest? That's my question. Is watching this stuff increasing?
They don't care
it
about the
happening?
answer to
Are
that
people
question.
having more incest now in real life, or are they just watching it?
It desensitizes one to it. Yes.
So, but is that actually
Source.
because the same thing happens with violent porn? But there's a lot of studies that show it can kind of have a cathartic effect, and that sexual crimes actually decrease when
True.
people watch
There
it.
is the-
So my question
There's
is,
a meta-analysis with 22 studies that show that increased use in porn increases in
okay, and
correlated
this
with
is a
increase in
meta-analysis of
aggression.
even more that shows that some of them do, some of them
My
don't, but the ones
meta-analysis
that
is
had
better.
best practices show a weakened link. So I guess that
What best practices?
best practices means like having the like peer review, better control group, more people,
Oh, you're talking
better
about studies, not the porn.
Yeah, I'm talking about studies. So the studies that have best practices employed, that's what this meta-analysis from 1970 to 2020 found, showed that
No,
link
but
is
what-
actually
what-
weakened.
what
and then
I
if you
am-
look at actual crimes happening,
But what
and
I am
ways
surprised,
happening
what
in
I am
society,
surprised by is
what
that you
happening?
can't make a moral decision without saying, well, let's see what these psychological studies say, even though we're in the midst of a replication crisis.
But-
Wait, so we're literally just going to ignore consequential outcomes as a whole, like as a principle? That's really fucking weird. We should look at why things are good or bad. Like, what is it that makes something a good or bad thing? Completely ignoring that on the basis, like, I don't even know what I don't even know what the advantage would be to ignoring that, honestly. So stupid, yeah.
Well, let me finish. We're in the midst of a replication crisis where
What does that
many
even mean?
sociological studies, in some instances 70 or 80%, can't be replicated. So we don't know if the study's conditions are accurate. We can't just go with the very basic element of, hey, getting an erection at watching fake rape. That's probably a bad scenario. That's probably bad if people do that.
Who's saying
here's
it's
the thing. You're talking about
not?
incest,
What?
right? If we're seeing
Yeah,
that
that's bad.
people,
That's
people,
also rape.
people are watching step-sibling, stepsister
Wait,
stuff.
incest
it's not
is
making
not
them more likely
rape.
to do.
What
We have
the
no evidence.
fuck?
It's not leading to greater aggression in
by the way,
society.
Hold on a
It's
second.
not leading to
That's so
anything.
stupid,
If
yeah.
the harm is just minimized to them seeing it and being aroused by it, is that
I just want to
inherently
get
bad?
something clear.
And if
I just
so,
wanna-
why?
Can I get something clear? You're okay with people being aroused and ejaculating rape porn. You're okay.
Yeah. Whether it's so stupid. This is obviously for their fucking. I know I keep saying it, but it just remains the case, no matter what, that they're doing this for their TikToks. Yeah. You're okay with rape porn?
Okay with that.
As long as it's something that if it's
And
not
you're-
As long
real
as
and
they
if it's
don't do it in
consensual
real
actors,
life,
yeah,
And you're
yeah.
okay with someone getting aroused and ejaculating over incest porn.
Yeah.
Why are you
As
asking
long
it
as-
again?
Would you be okay with someone ejaculating and being aroused over child sexual assault material, provided it wasn't a real child, it was a simulation?
Are you okay with
If
rape?
and same thing, if it was a simulation, I would look at what the consequences are. If it's leading, especially when some of them show it's leading to less actual harm to children, or if it's leading to less sexual
shit, I
aggression in
forgot I
person, if it's
have
leading
a-
to less
a higher
SAs,
view.
which a
think
lot
it's
of studies
okay?
show,
LOL.
then I think yes. I think if you're just getting aroused by it, but
To-
there's no harm being done.
wait.
What about a child being raped, but it's a simulation, and it's okay for someone to ejaculate over that, in your mind?
I would say that if
Wait, hold on,
okay,
hold
here's the
on.
thing.
She literally just described child porn. Is it okay to jerk off to child porn? Is that basically, that's pretty much what she just asked. In which case, obviously the answer is no. If it's an actor and they're pretending to be like a child and they're having sex or whatever, it's like rape, like fetish porn for children. That's fucked up. But there's a meaningful distinction between an actor who's pretending to be a child and somebody who is like an actual child being raped or whatever. Like, there's a meaningful difference there, because in one circumstance it's actually a crime, whereas in the other one it's a fucked up fetish. So yeah.
People have that proclivity, and if watching it when there's no real child, if it's AI, and that prevents somebody from actually acting this out, has a
There's
cathartic
no evidence
effect.
that
Nobody
prevents
said it was
it.
AI.
There's evidence that watching
Here's the
that it has
difference.
a cathartic
But you're
effect on
okay with
actual
that.
essay.
Here's the
Yeah.
difference. Okay,
You're
so
okay
it
with
sounds like you're saying, well,
It's
how can
okay
we
to-
really know
okay.
that people desire something virtually that they don't also we have no idea if they really want it in real life if it primes them for that.
That's not what I'm saying. What
you're saying is that it might be confined to the virtual, and so they don't have the desire to do it in real life.
I'm saying all the evidence that we have shows that it either is confined to the virtual or is actually preventing. At least when it comes to sexual aggression, yes. I have 3 studies right here that show that.
One of the main? Is it true that one of the main reasons? There's different reasons women quit OnlyFans, right? Mm-hmm. Is one of the main reasons that they find they make more money doing escorting?
I have no idea.
I've
never heard of anyone I know. Anyone I know has never quit to do escorting. No.
Do any people who do OnlyFans make supplementary income from escorting?
Some do. It's against the rules of OnlyFans. If they found out, you get kicked off. But
or other campsites.
I'm sure they do. But what?
So do you think then in those cases that it's plausible someone begins on a campsite, they're excited by this virtually, and then they want to take it to the next level, and that's how that happens?
What do you mean? What happens? They're now sexually assaulting the
No, they're having a physical active intercourse with this person they first experienced on cams.
Yeah, what does that have to do though with having higher rates of child sexual
What I'm saying then is that
assault?
if we see in these circumstances where someone begins, they're aroused by virtual contact with someone, and then it instincts, well, I want to take it to the next level. That's going to really make me aroused, and go and meet that cam girl in person. Why wouldn't that apply also to virtual acts
because
of rape?
All the data shows that it doesn't.
Absolutely no.
Even people like Jordan Peterson have talked about how there seems to be a cathartic effect from watching it that actually leads to less of this happening in real life. And I have some studies that show that you have no evidence saying that people watching this leads to more of it. In fact, there's evidence that's leaning in the other direction.
Wait,
many
Destiny,
cases
you wanted to add something.
Yeah, these arguments are completely and totally disconnected. The idea that if somebody gets into some type of work, they might continue on down that type of work doesn't at all feed into like, well, isn't it obvious then if somebody watches porn? Like, that's like saying, like, if you start drinking at all, you're going to become an alcoholic. Why would you say that? Isn't it likely that somebody that works as a bar back might become a bartender someday? So why wouldn't, like, that argument there's no connection whatsoever
there are many cases of people that are ultimately caught for the use of child sexual assault material. And one of the things that gets them extra penalties is that they were actively seeking to act out the fantasy that they were playing and the attacks that they were doing against these children in their mind on real life children. They had difficulty accessing real life children. Yeah, so I think it's a very much living in unreality argument that I think.
You're living in unreality because you have no evidence of this actually increasing that.
To say that people can
they keep saying
live
it's
this
not
whole life
living
in
in
their
reality.
minds, that they're acting out in their bodies through ejaculation, and that's not going to affect anything that they do in the real world.
But yet that seems to be the case with movies and video games, where a kid can sit in front of a computer and play 12 hours of violent video games a day, and lo and behold, he doesn't go out in the real world and kill somebody.
I think training yourself and actively sexually arousing yourself and ejaculating over these activities.
No, I don't think there's a mental arousal that happens. I agree there won't always be mental arousal that happens when you're out there killing people in video games, screaming like kill you and kill you.
I think is an
if there's no the connection has to be
child sexual abuse has gone down since the proliferation
of porn.
There
is. Child sexual abuse has not gone down.
A study from the University of New Hampshire that the decline of 30% or more in
Is this reported child sexual abuse, Jasmine?
Yes, but so where's your evidence then that it's just unreported now, but it's going up because people are watching? Where is that evidence?
We have insane rates of child sexual abuse in this country.
And it's gone up since the proliferation of porn?
Well, it's in conjunction with the proliferation of porn.
Then it should go up. If porn being introduced to society has made this worse, then where is that evidence?
It's not just porn. It's also, we haven't talked about this very much, it's also prostitution. You want data? I'll give you data. Look up Cho et al., CHO, a 2013 study covering 150 different countries showing an increase in human trafficking when prostitution is legalized.
Wait, none of us.
Hold on 1 second. All right. I'm just looking at the score. Bengals are about to be winning 3-0, if I were to guess.
Let's even
They're kicking
disagree with
field goals.
Yeah, that's.
But that's sex work. Why is sex work bad? Prostitution is sex work. Sex work's bad because it leads to other bad things like human trafficking.
But
wait, that doesn't make the sex work itself bad.
Yeah, wait. What makes the thing that's bad is the human trafficking and the sexual abuse, not the whole thing of sex work. There's a bunch of bad shit that happens in a lot of different vices. Would you say that let's think of an example. Would you say that like would you say like that drinking pop is like, well, that doesn't work actually. I'm trying to think of an innocent vice here. Anything could be bad if like you abuse it in a unhealthy way, or there's circumstances that are unique to the thing itself that might make it more likely to be a bad thing. I don't know. I think that like that doesn't make sex work as itself bad. There are plenty of circumstances where you can have, that the sex workers themselves or the clients or what have you, it's totally fine and there's no abuse or whatever taking place. But the fact that some abuse does take place isn't an indictment upon sex work as a concept.
Yes, it does. Because you can use other methods.
Hold on, wait. Let's say it was the case that most of the alcohol we drank in the United States came from the cartel. Would that make alcohol bad?
No, it would make it bad if using alcohol also fueled some other extremely dangerous, violent form.
That's what I just said. Let's say that hypothetically opium was grown in the fields of Afghanistan, and that was a huge export for them. Does that make it bad to consume all medical products related to painkillers?
No, I'm not talking about remote cooperation with evil. What I am saying is that if you have different policies when it comes to something like prostitution, for example, if you have a policy where you legalize it, and so it's legal to both buy and sell sexual services, like you say you have in Germany or other countries where that's allowed, you have an increase in human trafficking. But if you have other countries
but the increase in human trafficking isn't necessary for the sex work. It's just a byproduct of an unregulated market.
Yes, it is, and I will explain why. Okay. Because when you legalize prostitution, let's say human trafficking goes up or down, there's going to be two different things that happen here. There's going to be the scale effect and the substitution effect. Okay. So the substitution effect would be, you would think if prostitution is legalized, human trafficking will go down because you have legal prostitutes now. They substitute for the illegal prostitutes. And the hope would be it would go down because of this substitution.
Wait, what is it? I'm sorry, what is the substitution effect?
There's the question of the relationship between human trafficking.
Wait, I'm just curious, what is the substitution effect?
The substitution effect is that human trafficking would go down, illegal prostitution goes down because it's substituted with legal prostitutes. You have sex with a legal prostitute instead of an illegal one. Okay. That's the substitution effect.
Okay, gotcha.
That would drive the number down. The other problem, though, is the scale effect. That when you make it legal, there is now a massive increase in demand for this, and there's not enough prostitutes in order to satisfy the demand, so trafficking goes up in order to meet that demand. So the Cho et al. Study 2013, 150 countries, including longitudinal, to show Germany before and after, so it's not correlative, shows that scale effect always dominates the substitution effect. So when I look at that, I say,
the scale
legalizing prostitution this way, that seems really bad. Maybe we should do something else like the Nordic model, where you don't criminalize women for selling sex, but you criminalize men for buying it, and that really cuts down.
Okay, so then back to my original question. Then wait, before we jump into a whole different thing. Okay, so back to my other question. If for alcohol, then, if it was the case that we just every time we buy more alcohol, it seems like in either cartels or gangs or whatever are the ones producing it, would you then say that we ought to outlaw alcohol because it seems like every time we increase our purchase of it, it seems to come from unethical sources?
We should outlaw alcohol if there are more social ills than social benefits.
No one is talking about social ills and benefits.
Yes, that is always the case that you make when
you said that there was a substitution.
Can I finish?
Well, hold on. You just talked for like 30 minutes. You want to answer a simple question?
I did answer, and you're interrupting me. I said that if when you have social benefit, when you choose to outlaw something, you have social benefits and social ills that you have to weigh involved. Alcohol provides social benefits, and there are also social ills that are associated with it.
I'm only talking about the substitution and the scale effect. Those are the only two. I don't know why we're bringing this whole other thing now.
You brought up alcohol.
Destiny, what's the question that you wanted him answered?
He said that there is a substitution effect, but when you legalize something, you bring in legal prostitutes instead of a consumption of illegal prostitutes. However, the scale effect, due to the increase in the overall consumption of this particular good or service, leads to more people being brought in and sex trafficked. So the fact that you're trying to substitute legal for illegal people doesn't matter, because even if the percentage of illegal illegal consumption decreases, the overall per capita increases, which causes an increase in the illegal amount of prostitutes being used. So therefore increases sex trafficking. So my question was, well, let's say if we take something like alcohol or any other good or service you can buy, if it was the case that the mass scale consumption of this necessarily means that it's being consumed from countries that are engaged in slave shops or drug trade or cartels or whatever, would you outlaw any of those?
It's not a correct analogy. You'd have to show me an example where you have a legal and an illegal version of the same product in the market where it's being purchased, and it drives the illegal version of the product up.
Yeah,
you're using it.
You're
using it, but it's too disanalogous to even make the point that you're trying to
also,
make.
Wait, hold on. It's not disanalogous. I'm saying, let's say there's a drug. This drug is something that a bunch of people around the United States smoke or drink or whatever. But let's say that it was the case. Okay, well, let's legalize it. But then when we legalize it, there's such a demand for it that now, like, all the cartels in Mexico are making it. Would you say we shouldn't legalize it because of that reason?
Yeah, if it leads to a greater net increase in substance abuse to harm society, then we might want to outlaw that.
I'm not
drug,
even talking
for
about
example.
substance abuse. I'm just talking about an increase in the people selling it being bad people because we have such a higher demand for it. Now the supply is coming from bad
but it's
sources.
not selling.
Yeah, I think I'll do
that's
a
the whole point here.
Twister
It's not about selling a
coaster
product and
instead.
the bad people. It's about the fact that when prostitution is legalized, sex slavery goes up. And the fact that we're even having this
Sex
discussion
slavery?
about comparing
What?
people
What are you
in
talking
sex
about?
slavery to products made in different countries very much shows the entire problem with the situation.
If you want, we can
Well, and I
compare it to
think the other-
sweatshops then. If you want
the
to do
other
that, sweatshops
problem-
versus like normal
The other problem with your
workers at
analogy,
factories.
Destiny, is that
Yeah, there's no
sex
problems in
is
it, but
sex is good. And
Okay.
sex is beautiful in the right context. And so to
They're
compare it
really
to
obsessed with
alcohol,
that point
but restrict it just to
specifically. It being
prostitution,
beautiful.
sex happening is also problematic because, I mean, alcohol you can use in the right context, right? Sex in the right context in our position is an amazing and a great thing. What our point is that in the context of sexual exploitation and commodification, that's when it becomes problematic and harmful and wrong. And Jasmine, you were saying,
Okay.
well, for kids, there's no problem with kids
Oh,
looking
I
at
guess.
pornography
I don't-
necessarily, et
I
cetera.
didn't say there's no
There
problem.
are-
I said that it's not this. I think having alcohol, violent video games, all of this can show. Just because something has harm doesn't mean that now we need to get rid of it, right? The Second Amendment, guns probably do a lot more harm than porn. Does anyone here want to ban
but
guns?
just to finish
the
my-
First Amendment,
yeah.
right? People say mean things on the internet now because we have the First Amendment, but that outweighs that. So if you want to say something should be banned because of social ills, I need a lot of evidence.
We're talking
and
about
there can't
is
be
Right.
so
We're
much-
not talking
Jasmine,
about banning.
Hold on, Jasmine. We're talking about is sex work good? Is the question.
Is it- or is it
and,
bad?
And,
Yeah.
and you asked, well, what about kids looking at objectifying pornography on the internet or sexual assault
actually,
porn? That's
instead
not
of doing
necessarily
it this
bad.
way, why don't we
there
do
are
a
over
launch
100 studies that have revealed
lift
links
hill?
between young people's exposure to objectifying content and their objectification of women or self-objectification. Those exposed to objectifying portrayals are more tolerant of or in agreement with sexual harassment, adversarial sexual beliefs, rape myths, child sex abuse myths, and interpersonal violence than participants without this exposure and experience greater body dissatisfaction, appearance anxiety, and disordered eating
So
beliefs.
this is the thing,
So
like-
to
Okay, I gotta
say
go up a little
again,
more.
to argue that
She just wants to keep
kids
talking,
being
talking,
exposed to
talking.
porn,
Holy
or for that
shit.
matter, adults using porn is harmless. There's no negative effect to them or the way they view other people is simply
I didn't
false.
say there's no negative effect to them. I'm saying the negative effects are not even that conclusive. Adolescence and pornography.
You
A review
kept
of
saying to us, what are the
No, let
negative
me finish
effects? What are the
now.
negative
A review
effects?
of 20 years of research since 2005. More than 65 empirical studies have appeared with a peak of 11 articles
They don't
in
like when you
2011.
present
The reviews have
data
come to
is
opposite
kind of the
conclusions,
issue here.
Notably about the question of whether pornography is related to adolescent sexual attitudes and behavior. So some find there is, some find there isn't. The problem here is that if we just do evidence-based, I have a lot of studies that probably show the opposite
Yeah,
of what
so we
you're
can
gonna
just
say.
ask a basic question, which I have been continually asking and did not get a straight answer from. That
Cool.
you're not committed to the idea that it's just bad. It's bad when children 10, 11 years old see porn. If it is bad, like you say, there's some studies that say, what is bad? What does it do to them? You came close earlier. You guys were saying, well, they might not understand how
came
sex ought
close.
to be or determine
So
what's real or
patronizing.
not real in it.
There's-
So would you agree that pornography has distortions of sexuality in it that could,
Of course.
children like what?
I mean, especially if you look at, in fact, like things like OnlyFans has made that problem better for just general society. A lot of the studies on OnlyFans shows that it actually helps people understand sex. People report feeling more educated. They report improvements in their sex lives. So sex education is good, right?
But
Like
what-
if I have a child, my point isn't going to be like porn bad. It's going to be like, hey, look, this is not
Do you
how
think
sex
that's-
always is, right? If there's and now there's so many different kinds of porn
I don't know
out
if
there that
that's gonna
show
be-
different kinds of
that's
sex.
gonna be too
amateur
Is there
porn.
some kind of consensual sex that people should never do?
Like, can you give me an example?
Well, I'm sorry. Is there some kind of sexual behavior?
Oh, maybe
I
I
will
saw
give you
it.
an example. I'm curious to see how your guys' ethics would apply to this, because I think that this view of sex that is grounded in pleasure, even if it's grounded in consent, you're going to have problems. I'll give you an example. So a month ago, Peter Singer, one of the most famous philosophers in the world, shared an article on Twitter from the Journal of Controversial Ideas. And he said, this is really interesting. And it was a defense of bestiality. Okay. And it was an interesting defense of it, because I think it goes through many of the common arguments that are made against bestiality and shows why a lot of them don't work. For example, I guess, I could ask you, I'm sure I know what your reason would be, but it seems like, okay, I'll put it this way. All right. I think what you might say is that obviously bestiality is wrong, because in order for sex to be moral, there has to be consent, and animals can't consent.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be my view.
I don't think that that's a good argument, because
we eat animals.
Number one, yeah, that's good. We eat animals without their consent. Normally we just say to do a scientific experiment on somebody, you need their consent, right? You're a lawyer.
Yeah, you need their consent, but there's certain things at least you can't do even with their consent now.
Right, but to do any scientific experiment, you need the patient's consent.
Yes.
But we do scientific experiments on animals all the time without consent. And I'll give you one more example. So let's say police canine units. I gave the martial arts example earlier, that if I do martial arts with somebody without consent, that's assault. They need to be okay with me punching them in the head. So police officers train canine units, and they assault them. They fight them. They teach them how to subdue a suspect. They basically get involved in fighting with a dog, and the dog can't consent to that, but we don't consider that animal abuse. So if it's okay for cops to rough up a dog to teach them how to subdue a suspect, why wouldn't it be okay for someone on OnlyFans to let their clients see their dog lick peanut butter out of their vagina?
What the fuck is this
We probably have different views on this. I don't think that that's okay. I don't think the way we treat animals is okay. I would disagree with. I don't think we should be testing on animals the way that we are.
Okay,
we treat
sure.
them as completely non-human. I don't think that's necessarily intellectually consistent.
Are you vegan?
I'm not vegan, but I'm an asshole for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I should be.
But of all the ways we could treat animals,
right?
Of eating them, doing experiments on them, making them do hard agricultural work. Do you think that the least violent way to treat them would be things like letting them eat peanut butter off somebody's penis?
I think
for
some
an
of the
OnlyFans?
experiments that
He
they do
so
on
badly
animals,
wants
especially when it
to
comes to
like
mental health, where they,
visualize a
purposely
dog
put monkeys
licking
and scare them
the
and do all
asshole of
this. I
some
think
guy.
if you just fucked a monkey,
It's
it'd
like
probably
so
be better
obvious.
than if you did all that shit to a monkey, so that you can.
It's a secret
So
fetish.
that you can gauge how.
Whoa, how did we get to monkey fucking?
Because if sex is just for pleasure, animals like pleasure too, and we're all animals. We're a different species.
Yeah.
This view
might
that
be a little too
undergirds
fast.
prostitution and pornography can't coherently explain why it's wrong, and I think that that's a problem.
Well, and
I would just like to make a quick statement. I'd just like to make the Whatever podcast does not endorse
That's too
bestiality.
fast.
I need
That's
to do
too
a couple
fast.
chats here, and then we'll continue on with the
will-
conversation. We have Dr. Clockwork. A common reason of divorce is leaving the cap off of the toothpaste. Is brushing your teeth now bad? Correlation does not equal causation. People have lots of reasons for divorce,
Fuck, dude.
usually more than blank. Okay, Dr. Clockwork, thank you, appreciate it. We have Devon
Now it's going the
Frame
opposite
here
way.
coming up in just
Fuck.
a sec. Just waiting for it to pop up. Hey, Devon Frame, thank you. Human beings tend to twist and molest everything they dip their toes in. You religious folks should know that well. How do you propose we better build healthy, functional adults?
All right, let's try this
Asar
one.
Milker? I have no idea what that means, but how do you propose we better build healthy, functional adults?
There we go.
I don't know if that's
Virtue.
really worth it.
The
Okay.
habitual predisposition to choose the good.
Okay.
I think you have to have a realistic assessment, and you have to acknowledge the real biological forces that exist in people, rather than trying
Okay,
to design
that's
systems
better.
around virtues that are of religion or other sorts of origination. We've seen this fail over and over and over again, and it has failed, and it will never come back. The idea
That's
that
way
sex
better,
can just
yeah.
be confined to one marital thing is just something that, even for most of human history,
that's
hasn't
way better.
gone well.
I think when
And-
people try to have relationships where sex is open and can be shared with lots of of people, that's where we see failure.
Sure, but we see 50% of marriages fail that don't even have those issues. So
And we
it
see-
seems like I think that the better thing to do is to say there are different ways that you can engage with sex. Here are the pros. Here are the cons. If you engage with it in this way, things like this can happen, or things like this can happen. And then if you engage with it this way, here are the good things or bad things. I think the problem is everybody is so ideologically driven to attack one side or support another. They end up making absurd statements like, everybody should be happy with this style of monogamous sexual relationship in marriage and anything else is wrong, or everybody should be, in a polyamorous fucking 500 people and that's totally okay.
We would say everybody deserves love that doesn't need to be satisfied by other people as sexual objects.
Yeah, that's fine, and that sort of view has led to histories of marital rape and women not even like having orgasms
The case
in
is
relationships.
that sex has a particular
Yeah.
design to it, and we can pretend that it doesn't, but it does, and that
this is open,
design
all right.
tends towards
Yep.
intimacy and connectivity between two people, and it can
Pretty
also create
standard.
love. And I think when we pretend that that's not the truth about sex,
Whatever
and we
here, yeah.
say that sex is just whatever I want on my own terms, provided there's consent, then we open the door to all of these things. To your point, Jasmine, you're saying, well, there's all these studies that show pornography doesn't cause so many issues. I have all these studies that show that they actually lead to objectification in real life and all of these other problems. When you look, though, at the data of people who are promiscuous or having multiple sex partners, that's when you see in what are people doing in real life, people very harmed and people experiencing more addiction,
What is the,
people
speed
experiencing
on this? I'm just
more
curious.
mental health issues.
Yeah, but wait. So then, do you think that we should heavily discourage
So again,
or
to go
socially
to
get
your
rid of?
Max speed
worldview of
65,
saying that
average
sex
30.
is whatever,
That's pretty good. Yeah.
and let people do what they want to
I
do.
mean-
So wait. So
will
all
lead to
forms
more
of
problems.
sex then that aren't leading
that
to
is
like
just
procreation
covering
and relationship building between husband and wife, then in your eyes are basically like things that should be heavily socially discouraged
So
or
as
unethical.
an example, this is a New Zealand study.
Well, wait, no, wait. I'm not asking. I'm asking for a moral perspective. Like, for example,
This
like,
is not
do
a
you
moral
think-
perspective. This is data.
You,
This
no, no.
is
What you
women-
just gave me when you say sex is designed for something, that's a moral perspective. That's
Well, it's a philosophical position, yes.
yeah, which is
but
moral
I'm talking
in
about
nature.
the
yeah.
data proves
But
that
I'm
out,
not.
is
I'm
why
not talking about the
bringing
data.
up
I'm asking you morally. You think that the
Okay.
only type of sex that should be encouraged in society or should be allowed in society should be sex that is for the design of like having children, basically.
I think it can include
se-
having children, but no, it's designed for marital
Sex
love.
makes
Okay, so then
children.
what about so then for things like gay sex or lesbian sex, in your ideal society, are these things essentially not allowed or heavily discouraged?
I think that sex is designed for lifelong love between two people, and it is designed to be
she's going through her
life-giving.
dialogue.
Now, that doesn't mean every sexual
tree
act is life-giving and that everybody
bullshit
can
right
give life through sex, but it's designed for that, and I think that's the reason, one of the reasons.
Yeah, but can we
why
engage in it
marriage-
outside of that? So, for instance, are gay people having sex always committing a social sin in your eyes? Is that always?
She's not going to answer the
think
question.
that yes. I mean, I don't think that.
Okay. Do you think that all
she
forms?
has. She
and
actually
do you
answered
think
that.
all
But
forms of
that's not the
sodomy are
topic of
also?
this
Do you
debate,
think
but I
that
don't
all
think
forms
that's
of
good.
sodomy are also like social sins? So any
Homophobe.
oral sex, any anal sex, all of that is also
Well,
like.
again, I think if you want to talk about the Catholic teaching on this, and
No, I'm asking for your teaching. I'm not asking Catholic teaching. I'm a Catholic. Or I was.
We're
I know
not.
this.
Our view is not what's. We're not debating whether Catholic teaching on sexuality is true or not or good.
No,
We're
but the
debating
positions
what's-
that you're giving to counter the sex work debate are ones that would necessarily include these.
But
positions.
even
So I
if,
just wanna know the
even
alternative.
if you don't
because-
hold this position, you can say this.
Well, but you haven't given those arguments.
Well, here's what I would say. The question of whether
You haven't said these
homosexual
things.
conduct or sodomy, whether it's between people of the same sex or people of the opposite sex,
Where's
the
that one
question
tree?
of is that disordered, you cannot
What do you
answer
mean
that
disordered?
question
What does
unless
that
you have
mean?
answer a previous question, which is when is sex ordered? Okay, so I put
What?
forward the view that I think the only way to explain why things like incest, bestiality, gross promiscuity, infidelity, other things, ordered towards a very particular expression of love between a man and a woman. But even if you didn't hold to that view, your view can't really say when sex is ordered, when it's properly ordered to a certain end. All you can say is, well, you just got to make sure it's consensual. But after that,
That's not the only
That's
thing.
the morality that you're proposing.
I think,
Consent.
yeah, I
And
think that we
and-
can propose like
and
very
what
simple things around like as long as it's consensual, as long as it doesn't lead
I
to
mean,
like
the-
obvious exploitations of like certain people.
but
So, for instance,
Destiny,
you probably
the
shouldn't be able to have
question
sex and
today-
sell your
the
kidney or
question
something,
today-
right?
Destiny, the question
Yeah.
today is sex work bad for society? And we're talking about.
I think that
you're
looks pretty
talking
good,
about and
but I'll have to
presenting a
decorate
view of
this
sex
thing.
where, provided there's consent between adults, everything's fine and dandy. And you're saying, well, the data bears out for pornography that it's fine and dandy. I'm saying, well, we have all this data that shows that it's not. And you're saying, well, do we
And the
not know?
consensus is on my side.
And there's a lot of other data that we haven't even talked about yet. That I think
Before we get into that, let me just read the rest of the chats. We have 4 chats, so let me just get through them and then we'll continue on. Modest Takama, hey, thank you, man. Brian, love the real debate format. Thank you for setting it up. Destiny, props for coming back multiple times. Although I mainly disagree with you, it is nice to hear actual discussion from the other side rather than libs screeching.
Libs screeching be a good band name.
That would be a great band name. Destiny, do you play any instruments by chance?
I went to school for music, so yeah.
Okay. Piano?
And saxophone, yeah.
Okay, there you go. We have Fearmatics. Hey, thank you. Hello, Brian. I find this interesting. I have friends who goes out much, etc., and I'm that only friend who doesn't because I have some level of self-respect. Virgin. My friends don't believe me. Why do people think there aren't men who have self-respect? Not entirely related to the conversation
good for
at
him
hand,
because
but
it's like looked down on in our culture to be a virgin or to pursue abstinence, and I think good for you. I think that takes a lot of virtue.
good
As
for
it
you,
should.
Fearmatics. We have Kyle Whittington. Hey, thank you. Question for Destiny and Trent. At what point is consent
No, fuck,
relevant?
wait, hold on. I'm sorry.
Wait.
Can I respond to the last one? No.
Wait,
If
what?
hold on, I'm sorry, real quick.
You want to go back to the last one?
Yeah, if you want to be a virgin or if you want to be
Bathrooms
promiscuous,
are right
you should do some
there.
exploration of your own values and don't let people
Nah,
like
put it right there.
Lila.
So I'm not allowed to encourage.
You're not allowed to bully people because that's just
not
as bad.
bullying.
You
I
are
think
when
that's
you're like
bullying.
when
I'm
you
not sure
say
if it was bullying.
she,
I
the
think
answer,
that's bullying.
the answer, the
Good. I'm not
answer
sure if it was
shouldn't be.
bullying.
The answer shouldn't be.
Or
The answer
definitely-
shouldn't be good for you for having self-respect. But because that's the
Right,
exact
that's
same
fucked up.
answer that
Yeah.
third wave feminists
So,
whatever will say like
so
good for this girl
Lila
for going
can't
and fucking
affirm the
400 people.
boundaries he set for himself. I thought sex was
you're
all about
shaming
making
with my
boundaries.
shaming my response
What you
to him,
should say is
Destiny.
you should figure out what works best for you
So you're
sexually.
saying to
You
him-
should do that exploration. And instead, because if that guy would have said, "Hey, I went out and I fucked 20 people, and my friends all look down on me. Why don't they have self-respect?" You wouldn't be affirming his bound. You'd be saying,
I would
"Oh
not
no."
affirm that. I would think that was
exactly.
harmful to
So,
him.
so you weren't affirming anything healthy for him. You just like that he was
I'm not allowed to
ideologically
have
aligned
a
with you.
position of affirmation in this debate that someone pursuing abstinence.
You should affirm
outside of marriage
people
is a
because
good
they've
thing.
done the appropriate level of exploration to figure out this is
That's
what's right for them,
your
not
view
because
is
you're just
moral
pushing them.
relativism,
Just-
Destiny.
the question
Your
isn't
view
whether
is moral
someone-
relativism,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
you
The
can
question
hold
is
that.
not
You
whether-
can't-
Whether they align with
you
me
can't shame me
ideologically.
for having the view that
I don't
that
give
is moral
people
reality.
credit for exploration. I give them credit for having the right answers.
Okay, gotcha. Having the right answers doesn't matter. What matters is how you get there. It's
Well,
more
you're
important.
assuming that he doesn't get there through some thoughtful process, and I think that's unfair of you
When
to
your
assume
answer
that.
is because I have self-respect, that's the answer everybody gives to justify literally any stupid behavior.
I think that's diminishing this young man.
And people
his
talk
comments.
about respect to justify good behavior, that they're disrespected or they have respect for themselves and they're not going to do things like allow themselves to be objectified. Respect can be a very good reason for something. You can't just throw it down the drain.
That's great. And the same argumentation has been used to shame women out of even exploring their own vaginas until they're 30 years old. Like, you can use shitty arguments to justify anything. That's what I'm saying. It's the argument that matters,
So is
not
the
like the
word
correct
respect
outcome.
what triggered you, or
Right.
what?
Yeah, it's the idea that when people just give a
Why
position
did we
and say,
trigger
I
you?
do this, and my friends think that, why don't they have respect? Then it doesn't sound like something they've truly explored. It sounds like a position they've
Man,
been
this
like
is looking
either
really
bullied or
good, I think.
brainwashed into, and not
So
something they spend a good
assuming
time.
the
A lot of
comment-
good things
the
right now.
comment
That was the
was
assumption. I could be
bullied,
wrong,
or
but
I don't think. I think that it's unfair to assume that simply because someone is.
that's great. But
pursuing
you've already
something-
affirmed that if they would have given the
pursuing
exact
something
opposite
largely
answer with the same
unusual,
argument, you would have disagreed with them. So
that
you don't
if
even
someone-
care about their
but I
argument. You just care about the
I think you're
position.
making the point that I was trying to make, which is that in our society today,
All right.
we applaud or accept.
I'll be right back. I'll take my dogs out. Come on, go. I could probably go for a little bit longer, but I can't go too much longer because I have some shit to do. I gotta do some shit. So yeah, we'll go a little bit longer.
Sexual promiscuity.
That is not true, but
I think largely speaking, especially like younger people, it's actually feels shameful for some of them if they are a virgin. They think, oh, what's wrong with me? And I think that we've forgotten, we've lost a sense of
That's
respect
probably true to some
and
extent, yeah.
appreciation for people who are trying to live a virtuous life.
what
And I
point in
think we
U.S.
should
history is
celebrate- I think
anybody
we should
proud to be
celebrate that more.
virgins?
I think today people.
No. When would we? Are you saying like in the 80s, people were proud? It's like
Well,
I'm 30 and I'm a virgin.
not
I'm
so-
25 and I'm a virgin.
No, it's not so much about even virgin as it is about virtue. Is it about having self-restraint and
Yeah,
choosing
I'm not
to
just
delay
going
sexual
out
activity?
having. I'm not just going out having casual sex.
Okay.
And so
It's
I
like-
think that
and we
was
just
the
said,
point of
good.
this young man that
And we
he
think
was
that's a good
making,
thing.
and I think that that's a good thing.
Okay.
All right, we have Kyle Whittington. Question for Destiny and Trent. At what point is consent irrelevant? What would be some examples of actions that would be wrong regardless of consent and why?
Well, actually, I have an example of this. Destiny said something that reminded me. You talked about. He also said exploitation, and you talked about selling kidneys. That actually does have a little bit of a relation here. It's not just we've been talking a lot about behavior, like doing this, doing that, but the big problem with prostitution and pornography is the money. Okay, it's money that leads to things like exploitation. So, for example, I would say it's good for somebody to donate plasma, donate bone marrow, donate kidneys. That helps other people, and it's good that they do that. But if you pay people for those things, for example, the United States is one of the few countries on Earth that pays people for blood plasma. Most other countries on Earth, you can't be paid for blood plasma. And we do it here. And most blood plasma donation centers, they're on the border, they're in the poor parts of town. And when you pay people, so we have to ask, even though they're consenting to giving up parts of their body, is that exploitation that they're basically doing it because they're trying to get money? If we have ethical problems about using money to get people to give up their body, their blood, their bone marrow, their kidneys, and that we're exploiting them because of the money that's involved, the same questions will be raised about people who will get money by giving their body on something like OnlyFans, and it's out there as a virtual image, and it's out there permanently.
So
the same ethical issues get raised about exploitation.
So who's exploiting me?
Who's exploiting you?
Yeah, you just said that if you do sex,
The CEOs that make millions of dollars from OnlyFans and don't have to take their clothes
you
off.
could say that about any industry in America. That you could say
Well, and it's-
capitalism.
No, because most industries you don't take your clothes off.
It's possible to
so it's the
exploit
taking
oneself.
the clothes off. It's the taking the clothes off that you have issue. It's the moral issue
it's
you
not,
have.
no,
with
it's not
taking
the moral
clothes
issue. It's
off.
the commodification.
And it's possible
that,
to
Oh my
exploit
God,
oneself.
so
That's why you
stupid.
can't sell your own kidney, or you can't sell your own
One
part.
sec.
$299.
Thank you.
For Trent, Jasmine, and Leela, do you think it is a big brain move for a husband to let other men cream pie his wife or for him to suck men's penises? Or is it more likely to cause a failed relationship?
We're not answering that.
Good question. I think that one of the things you're talking about when you talk about the kidney thing is we've talked about consent a lot, but I think the topic that we're really getting towards is something called informed consent. So somebody's ability to give consent to something, for instance, a 14-year-old can theoretically consent to sexual
Just
activity
seeing what
with
size
an adult,
works best
but
there.
they can't.
Or
have
maybe I should
informed
make this,
consent
like,
because they're
into
only 14.
a little
We would say,
area
can they
to-
decide to have sex? Sure, but do they understand all the ramifications? No, and that's where the issue between whether it's moral or immoral comes in. I think when we look at things like kidney donations, I think that when we look at the informed consent, we're looking at, is there a group of people that they have enough knowledge to make a decision, and if they do, and there are no other mitigating factors, the question then becomes like, why would you prevent them from doing so? So let's say, for instance, we say, okay, we do blood plasma donations, but that we pay $50 a service for, or, like medical studies we pay people for participation in. If you do that, is it an unethical transaction? Well, let's say you say, yes, it is, and then we get rid of it. Well, what are the social goods that you've achieved there? We have less blood plasma donated. People that are poor that could have made money donating the plasma don't have it anymore. What is the positive outcome that's happened there?
Because we can't just make ethical decisions based on what is the most positive outcome. That's consequentialism or utilitarianism even, that we could do all kinds of things to try to make the best positive outcome. For example, you could maybe set up a system where orphaned children, a small subset of them, are used for child SA, and then that prevents
Why does
children
everything come
overall
back to
from
that?
being victims of child SA, and so the overall rate goes down. Would that be good because we had better consequences? No, because we did something grossly evil to try to get the good consequences. And it's similar, even if we have more of a shortage of things like kidneys, and we do need more kidneys and organs,
Sure.
it doesn't justify us doing
love
things that
kidneys.
are evil or exploitative, like taking organs from dead people without their consent, even though they're not alive anymore to consent, or
Sure, but then the question-
using money so that the people who end up doing it are the poor who are in a worse place to be exploited and want to go and be able to do something where they are greatly benefiting society, but incurring massive harms because of this kind of exploitation.
Yeah, but then I think this doesn't have to be utilitarian. This could literally be, we could look at this as a virtue or deontologically. We're not talking about sacrificing some group of people to save another group of people, harming some group of people to save other people. We're just talking about an individual.
Giving up your kidney harms you.
Well, I'm saying things like blood plasma. The kidney stuff obviously moves a little bit
you
more.
can
but, like,
donate blood plasma 100 times a year. We don't have long-term studies what that does to people. It may not be healthy.
Okay, but we do have long-term studies on what like blue-collar
I
labor
mean-
does to people.
Sure.
Is that exploitative that we allow people to get engaged in backbreaking work that leads to negative health outcomes? It might put them around asbestos.
It depends on the particular occupation.
So if we were to compare like construction work to blood plasma donation, what arguments do you have to save construction work from the negative arguments you've constructed to destroy the exploitative effect of like donating for blood
because
cancer?
construction work, and this goes back actually to sex work, because construction work is a service that creates a good. It's a particular kind of service or skill that's offered. With blood plasma, what we are doing is we are commodifying people. And one of the
So
overarching
what? Who
criticisms
cares?
of pornography and prostitution, including
If it's
from
bad, it's- or if it's good, it's good.
non-religious
If it's bad, it's bad. If it's
feminists
neutral, it's
from the
neutral.
past 40 years, is that prostitution and pornography are wrong precisely because this is not a service that is offered to people. It is the purchasing of a commodity. And a simple thought experiment shows
Wait,
that.
wait, but wait,
let me
wait,
finish the
wait,
thought
hold on.
experiment. The simple thought
You can say this for like getting a masseuse, right? Like getting a massage or whatever. Like it's a commodity that you get from somebody, a service rather. Like you can say that by like that, right? Yeah. It's not really like indicative of it being bad necessarily.
experiment is if people have a choice between two streams that they want to pay for.
Uh-oh.
Now, let's say one is Jasmine's 5,000th stream, you know, special access, cool stuff I'm going to do.
Okay.
And the other one is Megan from Nebraska, barely 18, my very first stream. This one's going to be the far more popular one. With real jobs, people value expertise and experience. With commodities, like a car, you value that it doesn't have a lot of miles on it. And people treat pornography and prostitution and the women involved more like cars than they do like service
Would you say
workers.
that argument also applies to every single form of athletics?
No. Because
think
you
there's a
value
com-
an athlete that has more experience and so they have a greater skill
Hold
set.
on, what's the
involved.
average age of like a female Olympic gymnast?
But they have tremendous skills.
They have skill and experience.
That
But
they
wait,
have
but what is it?
usually
Isn't
from
the
like
average
5 years
isn't
old.
the
No, no.
average age like 14
It's
years
not
old or
just
something?
age. The fact is that someone would rather prefer cam or porn or something with a girl it's my first time, whereas a gymnast, if it's their first time doing the uneven bars, we don't prefer that
Only
because
their
they're
mother
bad.
will
Hold on, wait. So
It's
now
not
we've narrowed this all the way down to it's just the fact that it's the first time, because commodification of bodies or people like these are things that also happen in a wide variety. Like somebody who's younger, somebody who's got less damage, especially when we talk about sports. I feel like for athletics.
Shit.
This is going to apply. I don't know how you can look at athletes and say they're not commodified under this lens.
They can be treated inhumanly. People can be treated as commodities or inhumanly, but I'm saying that sex work, that's why I don't like that phrase. It's not even work. There's a whole host of other things that are involved. To say that we should treat, especially prostitution, like a job, to me seems insane.
What about acting?
What about acting?
Would you say like women actresses are also treated as commodities? Because a woman actress might be hired. Oh, she's only 22. She's like, God, how are we gonna hire her to do this job instead
But
of
they
a
want her to be a
35-year-old?
good actor.
They want her to.
she
Well,
has a skill set.
they want her to have.
I mean,
that
if you do
appropriate
porn, they
role.
also want you to do whatever pornographic actions they're
But-
going to do as well, right?
But Trent's point is that for the girl who's doing the first time or selling her virginity or showing something online.
Yeah, but
Popular
you're narrowing on
porn
a
star
hyper
maybe
specific
it's
thing.
just
Like,
the
is the
first
most
time.
popular porn star in the
Yeah.
world 18 years old?
That's just her first time?
No,
that's not how it works.
I think the point here is sex
It's
is
not how it
different
works.
than all
It
of these
refutes
things.
my argument.
Sex has meaning, and I think
Well,
that
clearly
now
it
coming
does.
in
But no, and
Another
going back though,
topic.
here's the other thing why we can't. I'll give you another example why prostitution it can't really be called. If you consider it sex work, you'd say
So many
it's
examples.
a job like other jobs that are not the most fun to do. Is that what the idea of a prostitute would be that if under the sex work paradigm, it's a job, and there are unpleasant elements, and like other jobs, many people do it just so they want to get paid.
I wouldn't say that job is necessarily unpleasant. I think everything has aspects of unpleasantness to it.
Okay, well, I would say that you don't think prostitution is generally an unpleasant job?
When you say prostitution,
yes, I
probably.
said prostitution. Yes,
I mean, probably in general, I would imagine it's an unpleasant job. Yeah.
Yes,
I would imagine in general.
But there are lots of jobs that are unpleasant, and we don't treat it like other jobs. So, for example, in other jobs, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, has very strict rules when you come in contact with things like bodily fluids. So you have to wear goggles, for example. You have to wear latex gloves, a gown.
I don't even know
you
what
have
the
to
point he's
minimize
trying
exposure
to
to
make
bodily
is,
fluids
honestly.
all the time. But you could never apply those OSHA standards to a prostitute who's expected to, have urine and ejaculate and other things.
Why does he keep
put in
saying
their
urine?
face.
What is
so you can't
this
treat it like other
obsession with
jobs,
it?
can you?
In regards to the bodily fluids thing, that probably not.
Right, so it seems very suspicious that if we were to go in and say, okay, well, she's going to wear these goggles and this gown, and the guy, it can't just be a latex condom. That's pretty insufficient. You could spread HPV even still in the areas that are uncovered. You got to wear, to make it a job covered in OSHA, you got to wear like a big old diaper that like covers everything in latex in the midsection. And that's the only time the sex acts are going to be allowed is if you make sure there's no physical bodily contact.
Couldn't you also substitute this with like a lot of rigorous testing prior to the action?
No, because it doesn't matter. The OSHA regulations aren't just preventing the spread of definitely infectious liquids, it's of even potentially. It's the liquids themselves. My point is just that if you had prostitution as a job that actually satisfied standards for safe work apparatuses, no, men wouldn't go to that. They would go to the illegal alternatives because it's not about this being a certain job. It's about acquiring a commodity in the bodies of women or men who are frankly treated like
All
women.
the evidence shows that when you start treating it like a job,
He's like saying a bunch of stuff that like
it
doesn't really matter. Like it's not.
I'm saying,
Where are those? Like I've heard studies that say that before, and they're often misleading. Like there was one about Rhode Island, for example, that claimed like, oh well, gonorrhea goes down, so it makes prostitution legal. Except chlamydia also goes up during this time. These are often very cherry picked. They'll pick some diseases but not others to try to say that this is acceptable or not. But when you compare, for example, when you compare Germany, where prostitution has been legalized since 2002, and Sweden, where the Nordic model.
Wait, let's just stick on the OSHA thing, right? So,
fine. Well, I'm just saying that prostitutes get killed in Germany. They don't get killed in Sweden.
Okay, for sports, don't athletes sometimes come into contact with like blood and stuff? Like if you're a boxer or if you do MMA.
Right, and you minimize that, and then you might.
Wait, no, wait. They don't box in OSHA outfits, right? They don't have biohazard suits on. Also, pornography is already an employment industry in the United States. It's legal. Are you telling me there are no OSHA standards?
The
for
bodily fluids that happen in mixed martial arts competitions are incidental to the act. You can get involved in you can do an MMA match or a jiu-jitsu match or boxing and not come in contact with blood, and you definitely won't come. You won't come in contact with semen. That's not going to happen.
Well, wait. What's more likely to carry like different types of horrible infectious diseases, blood versus semen? Do you know? I don't know the answer to that.
I guess it depends what it gets into, but the point is
Well,
that
no, that's not the point.
Well,
Hold on.
then I will answer. It's still incidental. The goal in boxing and MMA and things like that is not to cause abrasions and cuts.
No,
and if those things happen, there are rules.
That is the goal. What do you mean?
You're
literally trying to beat the other person up.
It's incidental. You don't have
That's
to
not
do
incidental. Me punching somebody in the face and then bleeding is not incidental.
Right, that's like
punching
the
them in the
whole
face.
point,
But it is different though than what is going on in a sex act where somebody is ejaculating into somebody's mouth.
Sure,
That's completely different. That is, and there's no we would have bandages that we applied and things to prevent the spread of bodily fluids in a sport, which I don't know if that falls under OSHA as much as a sport, different than just a job.
So here's the question: do you think OSHA standards just don't exist for porn in the United States?
They don't exist for pornography.
I think even
wouldn't they? Wait, hold on, because pornogaphy is an employment industry in the United States. Does OSHA not apply to that?
I believe that it's completely inconsistent how it's treated compared to other
When
professions.
you say inconsistent, isn't there going to be a different set of OSHA standards based on whatever the particular job is? Isn't that literally the point of OSHA, is to create guidelines for safety for doing jobs? And
I mean, if we want to go
wait,
back
did you say no?
What? I didn't hear the question.
That OSHA is going to have a different set of standards for different jobs. There's probably going to be different rules depending on your work environment, right?
There are going to be slight variations, but just the basic rules of how we'd apply these different jobs and different workplace regulations and rules just cannot be applied to quote-unquote sex work.
Going to prostitution in terms
okay,
of
wait, also,
whether it's good
just
or
answer
bad.
that real quick because I don't want to find a word. OSHA does have standards for pornography, and they do apply to pornography, and they work just fine.
But regardless of the standards that may or may not apply to to prostitutes today and to sex workers today who are engaged in prostitution. Prostitution leads to very bad outcomes, back to if you want to talk about data, for prostitutes. And so I think that's something Trent talked about.
It's important to keep in mind that those who are engaging in prostitution might already be in precarious situations economically. Like they may already, like for example, be financially insecure, and as a product of that, that is why their like livelihood is all fucked up or something, right? So I think saying as though prostitution is the cause of their issues is a bit dishonest. It could be, definitely. I think there's definitely like issues that can arise from prostitution as a whole. For example, like as this proliferation of STIs or STDs or whatever. I think that could be an issue for sure. The thing is, though, is like those who are selling their bodies and like doing prostitution, like I think that like they might also just already be like, in like there may already be like issues. I guess is my point. I don't know if it's like because they're in prostitution that's the reason for like the problems. It could be, but yeah.
Correlation obviously between the increase in human trafficking, but it's also harmful to the prostitutes themselves in addition to that.
Okay, I want to really go through. I want to go through the data on this because if we're talking about the prostitutes
I just want to say a couple things about it. Well, let me just finish, Jasmine. Let me just finish. So
She's never going to be done
recently,
finishing. She's going to keep going on and on.
Actor named Joshua Broome, and he shared his story. He was one of the top ranked or awarded porn actors at the time, and he left the industry. He's now happily married with 4 kids, so his life wasn't ruined. In the end, he was able to change his life, and he's now extremely fulfilled. But he shared about how during his time in the industry, which was 6 or 7 years, 30 of his close friends took their lives because of the just extreme... 30 of his close friends took their lives.
I don't believe that for a second. 30 of your close friends took their lives. Close friends? I don't even know if I have 30 close friends right now. Not only that, but this is completely irrelevant because there are... Like, are we just going to ignore air traffic controllers and their suicide rates? Or, like so stupid, man. Fuck.
Were these all porn stars?
These are people involved in pornography, creating pornography.
So if I look up Josh's story, there are 30 porn stars around him that killed themselves?
Correct. Yes.
That's fucking
okay.
And so,
have you heard that before?
I've never heard that in my life.
Okay.
Well, in the Archive of Women's Mental Health, there's a study that shows that 20% of prostitutes have suicidal ideation, and in fact,
what percentage of women already? What percentage of women have suicidal?
Not 20%.
Isn't it like 47% have tried like antidepressants?
People who have sex for money.
Is it because
the rates
of
post-traumatic stress disorder among these individuals are on par with combat veterans? And think about how much suicide afflicts combat veterans.
I highly doubt that.
And the statistic for that specifically, though, according to this study, is that there's an increase in risk for suicide attempt of 41% versus the average of 29%. So that 10% increase for those involved in prostitution. Psychotic episodes, 41% versus 27%.
So
HIV/AIDS, 6% to 1%. Other STDs like hepatitis, STDs, 11% to 2%. Emergency room visits, 44% to 34%. Okay. So the reality is, if now we're talking from the point of view of is sex work good or harmful, for the prostitute, it is very harmful.
Well, here's the problem.
For the
You're
prostitute.
never going to eliminate that women are going to do prostitution, but we have all the data.
Jasmine,
No. Now let me finish. Let me finish. No, it is though, because you're not going to get. There's always going to be people that are going to supply this, and when we criminalize it or when we stigmatize it, there's and when we. But if there was certain things that policy decisions that we could make that could decrease negative effects for these prostitutes, because there's over 42 million of them, according to the data that we have, and the studies show that decrim and legalized locations, so consistent, improved condom use. This is a big study, 2021, in the Quarterly Journal of Economics. 17 work size census at 4 points in time, pre-crim, post-announcement, but still pre-crim, post-crim, and 5 years post-crim. Not only show that STD rates go down for those people, but overall in that society as well.
Jasmine,
the crime rates and the amount of violence perpetrated against the prostitutes, both by police and by their clients, goes up the more you criminalize.
The question that we are asking ourselves today is sex work harmful? Is sex work bad? And I just read data that shows
Why
that
didn't you share
if
this
you
data
are involved
earlier?
in prostitution, you are at higher
Also,
risk for
this is
suicidal
totally-
ideation,
you supplemented
same
this
STIs,
with an
you're at
anecdotal
higher
piece of
risk for
evidence.
being,
gotta,
and
like,
then also here's a
trust that
study
it's
that
right.
talks about
Yeah,
the
but-
higher
Okay,
risk
I
for
have a
being
question.
sexually assaulted or raped.
Being
we-
a lawyer
we-
increases your
yeah.
likelihood of substance abuse, increases your suicide, increases your likelihood of depression. Is being a lawyer bad?
We need
Just because it
professionals to defend
increases-
us in a courtroom. Men
So-
don't need professionals to have orgasms. They can do that themselves if they need it.
Well said, Fred.
Wait, but people... Wait, hold on. But what about air traffic controllers? You need air traffic controllers, but their suicide rate's really high. So... okay. Well, I guess he's saying the opposite point. I just wanted to say that. But, like, what... I'm sure there are industries where, like, the suicide rate is relatively high, but nevertheless, it's like a leisure, like, sport. Yeah. I'm sure you can make that argument with sports, right?
The problem
The
is
point is, sex work is not needed for a society the way that
but it
you
always
need to have
is
rule
going
of
to
law
be there.
judgment.
It's always going to be there.
And-
if,
The
if you could
the
snap your
inevitability
fingers
argument
and
is
get
not a
rid
good
of
argument.
it, maybe I would take
Okay.
that. But we have to be
Jasmine, let me-
practical.
let me
respond.
Like I said, in order to say if something is good or bad, you have to look at what happens if you try to come in and take it.
That's
and
not-
all of the evidence
That's
shows.
good. How many?
That's not even
here's
the
a-
question.
here's
We're
a question.
asking about how to regulate or
Maybe I'll
make
get-
it
maybe I
illegal,
will.
etc. We're asking, is it
I would say
is it
being-
harmful? Let me just finish. We're asking, is it harmful?
She's gonna keep
right?
talking.
And we're saying we're showing data and explaining that it is harmful. You're saying, well, being an attorney can be harmful. The position here is, well, a society doesn't need sex work the way that
How
it
many
needs
times are you gonna
law.
say
It
that?
doesn't need
Athletes.
prostitution.
Athletes are
then-
universally harmed
Let me just
physically.
respond. And then your response to that is, well, it's inevitable. There's always going to be something.
Yeah, but
But
here's
okay, so is being
Let
a
me just
lawyer
respond.
bad for the
So-
lawyer
so
itself?
m-
Okay, so my question
But
is this:
Jasmine,
if
let me
sex
finish.
work-
Please let me finish.
Okay, then
Please
you
let me
gotta let
finish.
me finish
Please let me
because you
finish.
always interrupt me. as well.
Murder is inevitable. It still happens even though it's against the law, right? Rape, sexual assault is inevitable. It still happens though it's against the law. The inevitability argument that something will still happen to some degree, even if it's regulated, restricted, made illegal, etc., isn't an argument for why it's good or bad. And our argument today, that the position we're taking, is that this thing is bad.
So I have a
And so
question.
explain
You were
why it's
talking
good.
about
Explain
you
why
were no,
prostitution
you were
is good.
talking about how it's really bad for the actual sex workers, and I'm saying okay, being a lawyer is bad for the actual lawyer. So my question to you is, if the data showed that having sex work or having porn actually led to less violence in society, and like if the data showed that, then would it be good? Because you're saying we need lawyers. If having sex workers, the data did show that, would that change your position?
No, because we shouldn't exploit people just to make society a better place. Okay, we shouldn't treat people like commodities. We shouldn't do evil so
All right,
good
I
may
think that
come.
was
So, like,
fine.
I have a question about keeping
I
prostitutes.
don't understand how that doesn't apply to athletes.
When it comes, you're.
Like for fighters, you're literally watching two people. beat
Your
the shit out of
analogy
themselves.
would-
How is that not commodification?
No,
of
your
their
analogy
bodies?
would work if we actually had gladiatorial combat, where people used to have in
You know
ancient
what?
Rome.
Wait, that analogy, we don't need that to be ascertained for the analogy to fall, like, for it to work, I mean. Like, he's right. I mean, like, we are commodifying their bodies for literally knocking them out. Like, it's, like, that's not on par with how bad that can happen with, like, gladiators. Obviously, you're not dying, but, like, this is still, like, a lot of trauma being, on the body.
Where somebody is going to kill another person, and let's say you figure out, hey, you know what? It turns out when we have gladiator matches, like violence goes down. It's a cathartic release when people watch them.
No, I reject the analogy.
kidding me,
I'm
dude?
saying that when
Come on.
two people,
No. Shut the fuck
yes,
up.
when two people, you don't need to make an analogy to my analogy. I'm saying that very clearly, two people fighting on stage, we are commodifying their bodies. They undergo severe physical trauma. All of their health care or health lifetime outcomes fall dramatically, right? CTE, among other things.
If an athlete had the same level of trauma that a prostitute underwent, I would agree that sport should be outlawed. That's why, for example, I'm very sympathetic to regulating professional football because of the rate of concussive injuries, especially among minors. So I agree with you.
Then why wouldn't you do
but
the
the
same
level of
for
harm that a
UFC or
prostitute
MMA?
undergoes is way beyond what a lawyer undergoes, even what a professional athlete undergoes. It's the mental harm on par with like a combat veteran.
Sure, but you can't-
let me finish. Or for example, the question I had for Jasmine was, since 2002, where prostitution is legal in Germany, how many prostitutes have been murdered? Do you know?
I don't have that data in front of me, but I know
It's
that
69. How many have been murdered in Sweden in that time?
I don't know. We could go study
One,
for
and it was
study.
by a jealous ex-boyfriend.
We could
Because
go-
Sweden cuts the demand and makes it a bad place that even sex traffickers.
Wait, hold on
New
real quick.
Zealand,
What is
for
the
instance-
population of Germany?
It's much larger. But
How
you
much
could-
larger? Like 10 times? How much?
It's not 10 times larger.
What is the population of Germany? I don't know.
Even if you control,
Look it up. Yeah.
Look it up.
even if
It's
you
at least 5 times larger.
No, even if you control for the population differences that are involved, no sex worker has been killed by a client in Sweden since they established the Nordic model in 1990.
83 million, by the way.
None.
Okay, so it's like 9 to 10 times larger than Sweden. Isn't Sweden like 9 million or something? You're just curious.
10.
I think
But also,
no.
wait, real quick. On this athlete thing. Okay, I'm going back to this, okay?
10 million.
If you want to compare athletes to
Yeah.
prostitutes,
Yes.
that's
I
not a
think
fair
we're-
comparison.
I think we're
we can
done
compare
for today.
street fighters.
You did.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go here. I don't think we'll finish this. I mean, I don't really care that much anymore. I think they're pretty much we've exhausted everything that we needed to. But yeah, that's gonna be about it for today. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.